think.
Being live streamed.
Sophie Sushetsky returned to Yorkton through EMS.
Yeah. If someone online has called in, can you please mute yourself? I'm pretty sure it is, but I can't read. If someone online has called in, can you please mute yourself? Okay, who's got who's connected? One of these TVs is turned on. It's the TV. It's the TV. If someone online has called in, mute yourself. Yeah. Yeah. I put him back in the radio. One of us. Yes. Okay, well,
Can somebody hear us? Ask Kathy. Kathy, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I think Victor has his mic on.
Kathy, can you hear us? Victor?
I can hear you, but I think Victor has his mic on.
Victor, can you shut your microphone off on your computer? Victor?
I can hear you, but I think Victor has his mic on.
Victor, can you shut your microphone off on your computer? Okay, so it was. Hard result that isn't.
You're not connected in, eh? Yeah. This is the, I've never. Okay, but we just need to figure out and announce which hearing is on. Well, if you could just for a second. Okay, so I think we got the sound okay now, I hope. Okay, someone still has something turned on at home. And I can't figure out which one of you
So I
it
think
is.
we got the sound okay now, I hope.
There's no one in the audience that's connected to our meeting, right?
Someone still has something turned on at home, and I can't figure out which one it is. I think we got the sound okay now.
No, I just want to listen.
Okay. First item on the agenda is the confirmation of the minutes.
I move, Mr. Chairman, that the minutes of the October 19 Environmental Health Committee meeting, the Personnel Committee meeting, and the regular meeting be approved as presented.
I'll second that. Anybody wish to speak to that? I'll call for the question, all in favor?
Yes. Motion before council, adoption of the agenda.
I'll move that.
You need a seconder for that? I'll second. Anybody wish to speak to that?
Was there one extra one?
Yes, that's with the inclusion of 11.4 request for an extension and 11.5 extension of completion date.
Yeah.
Item 4, research. Oh, sorry.
I'll call for the question, all in favor? Sorry,
Holy, usually.
I know you're correcting me. That's good.
Okay, so we will be going into public hearings. The purpose of these public hearings is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them. In each hearing, we will first hear from the applicant, then from those persons present either in person or online who wish to make representation, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal. At the end of the other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If in the response, the applicant supplies new information or raises new issues, then the others will be given an opportunity to speak again. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for clarification from the speaker on any fact or issue, but will not enter into debate. Persons speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond to questions when the other presentations are finished. So we'll begin with anyone in the audience here, and then we will go online, and I may have actual presentations to read as well. And we will ask those in the audience just to remain at your place and do your presentation from your seat. So the first item then is item 4.1.1, proposal to subdivide application number 4116-21-8311, part southeast, 321019 WPM, applicants Puhatch, White, and Campbell. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a proposal to subdivide number 4116-21-8311 within part southeast quarter 321019. Applicants Puhatch, White, Campbell. As per section 125.2, council is required to hold a public hearing on a proposed subdivision application if the proposed subdivision will result in the creation of a new public road. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
I'll move.
Seconded. Anybody to speak to that? Call for the question, all in favor?
Is the applicant in attendance and would like to speak to the application?
I'm just representing the applicant, just going on the record in favor of it and answering questions in person. I'm Evan Keller Development, Scenario Design.
Sorry, yes, please give us your name as we can't.
Evan Keller,
Yeah.
Keller Development, Scenario Design.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in our audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to application for subdivision 4116-21-8311? Did council have any questions? Evan?
Mr. Chairperson, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Keller, you're seeing you're representing the applicant. I notice on your plan, on the first dozen lots, the road. Basically, you got no exit on one end. Is that what?
There's no turnaround.
Yeah, no turnaround.
Yeah, so
How do you plan to deal with
for
that?
construction purposes, we'll do a temporary turnaround area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like emergency vehicles can turn around. It won't be the permanent, like it won't be permanent. It'll be a gravel graded area adequate to turn fire trucks or whatever. So,
Has anybody got any other questions for Evan?
Well, no, but a good council member.
You're okay?
I'm okay. No, yeah.
Bobby? Go ahead.
Mr. Keller, well, water volume test, you got one done for that,
we've got one done in the area, not on that specific property.
not on that subject. How far away was that, just for the audience? We've got something,
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, to be
Okay.
honest. Yeah, it's considered even test.
okay,
I hope the municipality is putting in water at some point.
Thanks.
If there's nothing else, a motion to close public hearing?
Any mover? Seconder? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor to close.
The next item on the agenda then is a proposal to subdivide 4116-21-8318, part northeast 301019 WPM. MB1 Developments Limited. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a proposal to subdivide number 4116-21-8318 at Part Northeast 301019. Applicant MB1 Developments Limited. As per section 125(2), council is required to hold a public hearing on a proposed subdivision application if the proposed subdivision will result in the creation of a new public road. Motion to go into public hearing.
Motion. Seconder for that motion? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor.
Is the applicant,
Hi, my name's Tyler Rice. I'm with MB1 Development, and we're in favor of the proposal to ask for the new road to be opened, which we've used to create a new residential subdivision consisting of approximately 22 lots, which is the plan we proposed, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Good evening, my name is Terry Ross. I live at the intersection of Road 59 and Gray Road. A few years back, we had a discussion with the residents out that way and the RM Council about the secondary plan. And we had several discussions regarding minimum lot size, green space creation, water analysis, and engineers reports, environmental impact assessments, so on and so forth. But tonight we're here to talk about the road. So the upgrades to the road infrastructure that we discussed years ago were supposed to be passed on to the developer and not be current taxpayers. As you know, Gray Road currently is in terrible condition, and it has been for a number of years. Any new development was going to add to the growing safety concerns that we have about the pedestrian use of that road, as well as the traffic on that road. In addition to the proposed development, there's also an upgrade going on at the PAW, which is going to increase traffic as well. So I have a signed petition by every resident on Gray Road, every resident of Eagle Ridge, and every person whose land touches the proposed development, asking you guys as a council, we're not opposed to development, but we want you guys to do your job and due diligence to ensure that this is a safe endeavor to embark on, and not just approve it carte blanche. I've got copies here. Petition. Pass it around.
And you got anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, we haven't seen a traffic analysis report, anything to see if any additional traffic on that road is sustainable if it's safe, so on and so forth. We're not against any type of development, but we want it to be done right.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in opposition of the application?
This is Linda Douglas. I just
Second, Linda, we have someone in the audience here.
Oh, sorry.
8 copies there. Thanks for doing it for the good table. And everyone's My name is Brad Atkinson. My wife and I have lived at 56 Gray Fox Drive for almost 25 years. Regarding the opening of the new road, I do not see where it's in the best interest of the municipality to have the proposed road open the way the RM is now. It serves no purpose to connect Gray and Marsden at this point, and it'd be just another road to maintain. I realize that the extension does not go all the way to Marsden in this case. If it is required to be open for some other reason, any expense should be paid by the proponent and not the municipality. Subsidizing development is hopefully history in Cornwallis. Regarding the plan of subdivision, the developer has sought approvals from everyone required by law. However, I don't believe that most of the people directly affected were contacted. I know that we were not. A lot of money has been spent without any or minimal consultation, and many assumptions were made. In my time as mayor and/or Reed, I often had developers come to me with a plan. I told them to talk to the neighbors first, and then come back and see me. I love development, but not just for the sake of development. I believe that we all expected something to happen in this area sooner or later. To think otherwise would be unrealistic. Now the trick is to get it right. 5-acre lots should be the minimum size. Obviously, the main reasoning is to reduce population and traffic. The Curtis development a few years ago started out as 2 acres and was modified to 5 acres. If it was justified there, it is more than justified here. Title to lot 23, 21.9 acres, should be conveyed to the municipality as a natural extension of the existing public reserve. This is an absolute must, no matter how the development unfolds. It is the only way to ensure long-term access to the public. There are just 2 points. Those are just 2 points that I would have made to the developer if I had been approached. My 2 main issues are, number 1, the water supply, and number 2, the additional traffic on Gray Road. To no one's surprise, water supply is a huge concern. We have never had a water problem, but we would like it to stay that way. Water supply is planned as individual wells. This subdivision as proposed should not even be considered without an external water supply. I do commend the developer on doing professional research regarding potential water issues. However, the report uses the words unlikely and not anticipated regarding the effect of new wells on existing wells. This is not totally reassuring, sustaining our water supply. The report also suggests that some lots have better wells than others. This could lead to development delay problems when compared to a source water supply method. The forest development is an example of the advantage of having a common water supply. Lots were sold and developed very quickly. Then comes Gray Road. The municipality has attempted in the past to make Gray Road safer with mixed results. Flattening the bottom hill has certainly improved visibility, but the 2 hills near each other still warrant extra care while driving. On the top hill, people have a natural tendency to go to the middle while climbing and to drive faster while descending. You also have the access to the paw to consider. This is a bad combination. The corner of Gray Road and PR 459 is dangerous. There are at least 6 old trees that block the vision from the west. It is not a good situation for a high traffic volume corner. We use Jerome to avoid it, especially in the summer. My unprofessional estimated additional traffic count, 22 lots times 2 cars each, more than doubles existing traffic. This is the main deal breaker in this proposal, even more than the water. I do not know why the RM would be in favor of this at all, except for new tax revenue. Sometimes money isn't everything. A plan with lower density would bring in very comparable net revenue possibly quicker, without as many potential future service and liability issues. The lower density eliminates a good portion of both of my main concerns. I expect there will be lengthy appeals to the municipal board if council approves it as currently proposed. In closing, we are not aware of everything that goes on in the municipality, but we are aware of what is happening outside our front door and do not recommend this subdivision as proposed. We are closest to the situation, just as you are the level of government closest to the people. You must make tough calls sometimes. That is why we pay you the big bucks. Stay healthy, respectively, Reg and Sheila Atkins.
Thank you, Reg. Has anybody got any questions for Reg?
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Good evening. Council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Tasman and Gravel. I'm not speaking in opposition of the development, and I'm not speaking in favor of it. I'm not going to talk about traffic. I'm not going to talk about water, walking paths, deer footprints and things like that. But what I would like to bring forth at this time is a concern of mine that our property, our shop, is just on the north side of the proposed development of Mr. Rice. Okay. And that shop has been there for probably 40 or 50 years, since the days of Bob Durnan and Don Gray and the such, before anybody else developed with their little piece of heaven in the country. And then, of course, once they're there, they don't want to see anybody else develop. But unfortunately, that's how we evolve as a society, as a municipality, a town, a village, a province, a state, a country. We have to evolve, we have to grow. And this is one of the things that happens, but nobody wants to see it. But my point I'd like to bring up is that in the fact that that shop has been there, that business has been there for, as I said, not myself personally, but a gravel operation, heavy construction operation for 40 or 50 years. When someone moves in the country, it seems, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, talking to council with regards to they get their piece of heaven again, and they don't want to see anything else, and they look across the road and they think, you know, my yard is nicely manicured and it looks great and everything. I don't like that equipment sitting over there. I don't like when a truck starts up in the morning. It wakes up my baby. It makes my dog bark, even though that shop has been there for 40 or 50 years. Even though it's been there when people look at a lot, when they're thinking of buying it, it's still been there. And then one day, and I've had this happen actually, then one day someone thinks, you know, I don't want that shop anymore. I'm going to get a petition going. And I'll use the same analogy where there's a hog barn in the country and someone buys a piece of property and they happen to be downwind of that hog barn. And they're sitting having breakfast one Sunday morning, probably bacon and eggs. And they think, you know, I don't like that smell anymore. I don't want to see that hog barn there. I don't like that smell. I think we should get the neighbors together. I think we should rally, get a petition going and get rid of that hog barn. Even though that hog barn has been there when that property went for sale, when they looked at it, when they bought it, and when they developed it. Again, I'm not against development at all. I would like to develop that quarter section of where our shop is. And then there won't be any more heavy equipment there, but for today and tomorrow and the next day, probably, there will be. And I don't want to end up in a situation in 2 years where I'm fighting a petition that someone's trying to kick us out of there because we've been there that long. Mr. Rice has actually approached me about supplying material and doing work for him. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. I said, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not going to rally for him, but that's just a situation that I don't want to see ourselves in down the road. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Has anybody got any questions for Kevin?
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
I think Linda did. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
Hi, my name is Julie Hughes. I kind of echo Kevin's sentiment where I'm not really in opposition, but I'm not in agreement. I'm sort of stuck in limbo right now. I have some questions. I live on Cody Drive, and I'm concerned about the water supply, and I'm concerned about green space being kept around buffer zones and those sorts of things. With respect to the water, we've had 2 families on Cody this year have well issues that they've never had before. Their wells were getting low. So that has never happened. I've been there now for 12 years, and this is the first time we've seen that. That coupled with the development that's going on right to the west of us right now, and now there'll be one in the north. So with those all things considered, it's a real viable concern about water. The other issue I'm concerned about is someone mentioned about the 5-acre lots. I think that is really smart thinking. If we go with the minimum size of 5 acres, just with all the new environmental things, and we can't have fields anymore unless you're over 2 acres and all of that. So a minimum of 5 acres to help reduce the residential impact would be something that would be really important to me and my family. So again, not necessarily opposed, but I would like to see more on the issue before these decisions are made. Thank you.
Anyone else in the building audience? Linda, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Donna. My name is Linda Douglas, and I live right on the corner of Gray and Grand Valley Road. And like I said, I'm not in opposition, but I am very concerned about the safety of Gray Road because of the slope. Even right by my place, you cannot see anybody. You cannot see anybody until they hit the crest. And I almost hit somebody yesterday. And in the wintertime, that road is not safe. It's very slippery. I see accidents every year on that road. I see like the traffic just sitting on my deck. The traffic is constant. And it's even been said by council before that Gray Road wasn't built to withstand that much traffic. So it makes me very concerned. I don't see people, like even people aren't even stopping at the stop sign, a simple little thing, but it's an accident waiting to happen. I just don't think that the increased traffic, like the amount of traffic now is a lot. People are pulling partly, if they meet each other, they're pulling partly into my ditch to be able to pass. They're pulling into my lane. In the winter, they can't get up the hill as it is because it's too steep. So like something would have to be done there. Like even though it says 50 kilometers an hour, people are definitely going more than 50 kilometers an hour there. People are walking up and down that road all the time. So for that development to go forward, Gray Road would have to, in my eyes, be fixed first before the development, not after, because then it may get delayed or whatever. And I think that's something that really needs to be looked at before anything else should be done, because the traffic, and I'm more than willing to let somebody in there and sit in my lane and sit there and count the traffic, because it's a lot, irrelevant of the time of year, the time of day. It's busy constantly. And right by my house, it's just an accident. Like, I'm surprised I haven't gotten to an accident yet. I've seen people going into the ditch. A car's coming up the hill, they're going down the hill, they're going down the middle of the road, don't expect the car, they go into the ditch. It's So I think grade needs to be fixed before any more development should happen. Like I say, I'm not opposed, but things have to be put in place before more growth for Gray Road can happen. Thank you.
Is there anyone else online who would like to speak in opposition to this application?
Tyler, would you like to respond to some of those concerns?
I think all concerns are, people have a right to say their opinion. There's lots of factors that go into any development, and I don't think we live in a perfect world to satisfy every situation. There is a process in place that's gone through by the province, by all the departments of the province to review the development. So it isn't just we didn't just put something on paper that is what Tyler would like to do. There's multiple professional consultants that are paid to design and approve things that meet all the government standards, which we all live in. I live in the neighborhood. I don't want to see a deterioration of traffic. I've got young children, and like Reg, I'm more concerned with traffic than he is probably. The fact that Reg, with respect to your property, our property doesn't add any traffic to your front door, which I think is a point. My door is open to talk about anything. Unfortunately, I can't design and work with consultants on a plan on everyone's point of view. The consultants, the secondary plan has listed this as a rural residential development, which or the property which the municipality paid for in January 2018. As far as road traffic, I'm 100%, and that's what we pay taxes for. I think we're talking about the same thing when we talk about improvement of roads. In order to improve roads and pay the people around the table, we need revenue. We need people to move to our community. Right now, there's not many options for people to live in Cornwallis, and that's what we're here to do. Provide people the same enjoyment and same options that I enjoy living in the area, and that Reg has lived in, and Sheila have lived in the area for a long time. So there are people that want to live in our area, and it should be designed and done properly. So we follow the provincial planner, Devin Dietrich, initial plan on how to outline where traffic is to flow. We hire Scatlip Miller Murray. We are professional landscape designers, architects. We hire Newton Engineering to review all the water flow, all the road specs. Devin Dietrich puts that in front of Manitoba Highways. It goes through 2 rounds of professional review, which I think are people who are educated and paid to approve things like this. And as far as improving roads to existing, I agree. I think there's always room for improvement, but we need some revenue to do that. And I think it goes hand in hand. I think I would like to see the traffic slow down when there's children and families turning onto Grand Valley Road, which is a major sub-highway to the Trans-Canada. So there's no doubt traffic. And further east, with the properties being proposed for more residents, I don't oppose slowing traffic down a little bit. That can solve a lot of things. As far as expanding the approach and the turning lanes, by all means, I think that should be reviewed. Should it be up to the developer? Well, we're paying for lots of roads. We'll always pay for whatever we can. Ultimately, that's goes on to the people who are looking to move into the neighborhood. And I'd like to think that when people are paying tax dollars, that it's supposed to go to some infrastructure. So I think there's some room to for everybody to be happy on that front. And I would support adjusting any road approaches to meet the standard, but I'm not here to debate what the provincial standard is. I think that's out of my realm of control. And at this stage, everything that we've proposed has met all those and more so. We actually Our plan is to minimize the lowest impact and give consideration to Gray Road. That's why we are going north and going off of this new proposed road in order to minimize the continual flow onto Gray Road. Happy to answer anything further.
Has anybody got any other questions? Yeah.
Mr. Rice, is there any phasing of the subdivision or like half of the lots now and half later, or you're gonna put it all at once?
I think based on the hydro services and stuff, the road service and hydro will be done at once.
And I have one more question. How big are the lots there right now? Like half an acre?
They're all 2 acres and many are a little bit more than 2 acres. And that's the standard that's provided by the province.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Rice, when you hired your consultant, did you ever discuss with him Gray Road and specifically what his opinion is as an engineer? I see you got an engineer on here, like what his opinion is, why he didn't, or why isn't it in the report? I mean, Gray Road is a concern, so I'm just wondering why.
My understanding is the secondary plan, which WSP, which the municipality paid for in 2018. One of their requirements was to review the standard of the roadways in order to provide a recommendation for future development. At what stage it kicks in for further traffic, I don't know. I'm sure it's not hard to figure out how many cars are coming there now and what a typical provincial road is seeing. And with what we're proposing, there should be a standard there that's a precedent.
Anybody got anything else?
Can I ask the question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead, Linda.
Oh, sorry. I just have a question for council. I believe it'd be direct to council. For Gray Road, how much would it cost to be able to get that road to where it needs to be in order for it to be safe for additional traffic? Because I believe this is phase 1 of possibly 3 or 4 phases. So, and like, again, I'm not opposed, but the gray is like, I see it every day. It's a safety concern. So what is the cost to be able to fix that road?
Yeah.
And I guess, is council prepared to spend that money to fix it?
Linda, can I have utilities? Yeah, actually, Linda, about 4 years ago, we had our engineer Burns Mendel Consulting give council a proposal to look at Gray Road, and just to do an engineering study is $30,000. Okay, so we kind of asked him, okay, what are we going to get at the end of the day? And he said, well, a plan to improve it, not fix a problem out there, but to improve it. And his estimated cost was well over $250,000. That was 4 years ago on previous council. There is major work. What concerns me is the properties that would have to get dug out that the municipality doesn't own. There's 2 approaches that he alluded to. It's going to be a challenge for the municipality. So it'd be easy to get a plan for 30,000, but to fix it, the second property, I believe it's right up one lot up from you there, Mr. Rice. You'd be basically knocking on his garage door the way to properly shape it. So it will be a challenge.
Plus the utilities.
Yeah, the utilities, there's many utilities there that have to be dug out and reshaped. which the municipality would have to pay. So we have done our work and to spend money. And I don't know if I didn't get the warm and fuzzy feeling we would make it, it would make it improve. He used the word, I still remember Dan Burns sitting here, he said if we would improve it, but to do it right, to go up to to the top of the hill where Reg is talking, you're probably talking now well over $500,000. And challenge would be to do that work with where you're gonna put the traffic, because there's only one way in. So it'd be money well spent. We'd have lots of money, but at the end, would it improve it? To make it satisfactory, and that's what really is bothering me. If we're just gonna go in there and make an improvement, is it gonna be satisfactory for more residents out there? That's why I'm asking you, if your consultant, Mr. Rice, if he even gave you a proposed
I think it's a responsibility of the municipality to work with their higher ups, people who are in the profession of road design and traffic counts. This is the only road. How many roads are there in Cornwallis? You know, there's lots of roads. They're designed to see traffic, not to have 2 cars every day, right? So there's a precedent for how many cars should be reasonable to travel. As far as the turning lane, we're not talking about the same thing. We're not talking about expanding the road to the top of the hill. Having a turning lane to satisfy the most lady that lives on the corner, that's a viable item. There has to be, if you've done the math, there's a significant amount of new revenue, so there has to be a plan for how that should be invested too. It shouldn't just be carte blanche.
That's a provincial road at the bottom of the hill, though, so we have to be mindful with MIT as well. You know, like Rachel did. Rich, go ahead.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chair. You know, a relatively cheap way to cure a lot of the problems would be to cut down those trees I'm talking about. They're old trees, and visibility is really dangerous. And those of us that are used to it spend a lot of time turning that corner. And the people that aren't don't. And that would be a relatively inexpensive way to solve one of my problems, which was that junction. Just get rid of those trees without the water. And today, I went up there today and I went east on 59 because I just thought, I wonder if there is an alternative to using Gray Road, because it just scares the hell out of me. Bringing this many, like there's 10 people right now. So if you add a 22, you know, you got 3 times as many residences. Now, I wouldn't say that the traffic is going to triple because of that, because a lot of the traffic is from the Paul, because it's a very busy place, particularly at 4 o'clock sort of thing. Anyway, so I went east on 59 to see if you could go through there. Well, we just can't. You know, so there's no plan B to go there. So other than you're back to Gray Road. So just what can you do? You know, and Mr. Rice's plan, I don't know for the life of me how you would build a house on some of that lot, the lots that are marked because of the terrain. So possibly there could be some 2-acre lots up in the northwest of it and none in the southeast of it. There may be ways to work around this and get the population within a reasonable. To go from 10 to 32 is too much.
Just in response to that, I don't know if we've reviewed the actual scope of the plan, but those things have been considered. There is no houses proposed on the ridge. We've taken in consideration your residents, and there's where a residence would be built, you wouldn't even be able to see it from your house. So those things are all considered.
Reg, those trees, are they on the right of way, the RM right of way, or are they on private lot?
I think they've overgrown to the right of way. I think
Not sure.
I think they'll be.
I don't know. They're old trees.
Okay. We have one letter that we are going to read out now that was presented.
I am out of town and therefore will not be able to attend the November 16th hearing. Thank you for allowing me to comment on the proposed new development. I am not opposed to this proposal, provided there has been an independent, in-depth study and testing done to ensure there would be sufficient well water supply to support these new lots without affecting existing homes in the area. This is important to me as a homeowner in this area, as I would not want my well water supply to be diminished because of too many wells being dug. If this study and testing has been done and the results have come back showing adequate well water supply, then I'm in favor of the proposal. If this has not been done, then I am against the proposal. And that was from Gary and Lana Jennings, 33 Cody Drive. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition?
No opposition, I'll speak on support. Can I mention just, would it be possible for me to review the items brought up on with regards to Gray Road and the approach? And have the people who are familiar with that area of expertise to suggest and review the status and or some of the comments that are concern for my neighbors.
You're talking about a consultant? Or an engineer?
I'm not the planner, but I would reach out to some people who are in the business of engineering provincial roads and identify and be able to provide council with a little bit of further information on that.
That would be useful.
I hear what folks are saying. I mean, whether we do anything or not, I think just to separate the two, there's concerns with the corner, whether we do anything or not. It's not a great corner. I mean, people going 90, 95 on the highway, and there's a little bit of grade there, and there's trees. It's not ideal. So that's a concern already.
Is there anything else? See nothing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Seconder for that motion? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question, all in favor?
Council will make a decision after all the hearings if you want to stay. I think we have enough space now. You're good.
Yes.
Will there be further discussion on the decision, or is it you guys are just gonna vote to make a decision? You're not gonna ask additional questions?
They won't ask additional questions.
Not once the hearing's closed.
Not once the hearing's
No, I'm just.
Bill, maybe explain to the audience that we're doing the public hearings and then all these.
Yeah, we'll do all of the public hearings to make them go a little bit faster, and then we'll do the decisions at the end of all of the public hearings. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, Tyler. How long?
Can I leave for a few minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. We are still under order, so I would appreciate everybody's attention so that it's not so confusing with the chitter chatter in the background.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda then is item 4.1.3. It's a zoning bylaw amendment, ZA-02-21-C, Part Northwest 221017, applicant Bellew. Purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a zoning bylaw amendment application, number ZA-0221C at Part Northwest 221017 WPM, to amend the zoning from RR5 to RR2. Applicant Victor and Natalie Bellew. Motion to open hearing.
Need a mover? Seconder, Bobby. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? No. Call for the question, all in favor?
Would the applicant wish to speak to the application?
Do I have to?
You don't have to.
Yeah, the reason of the subdivision of this is a long strip and very far back is kind of useless. Nobody cuts grass there, and I thought just subdivide it for my benefit, and I think all of your benefit, for municipality and school benefit. So maybe you're going to build a house in the future or sell the lot. So
is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Lorraine, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I am Lorraine, and my husband and I both live on Meadow Crescent, just down the road from this property. We live in a 5-acre subdivision, and we don't want to see this become a 2-acre subdivision area. We like our 5-acre. This is why we moved out to the country. We don't want to be in the city. And it's just, you know, there's that ugly word precedent, you know, you make 1 2-acre lot here, and the next thing you know, other people are going to want to do that too. We don't want that. We like our property the way that it is. We like our privacy. And I mean, you know what, if we live on a 5-acre lot, and we do cut our grass, but if we don't, that's our business out here in the country. That's kind of the charm of having our own 5-acre lot out in the country. We don't want to live in a very populated area.
Anything else?
The other thing would be 2-acre parcels of land, then you're coming up again with the water usage and the sewage and all the rest of that as well. Now you're putting people closer in together and using more water and more resources and polluting more property too.
You got any questions for Lorraine? Thank you.
I received one written document as well. We would like to raise an objection to the projected zoning change from rural residential 5 acres to rural residential 2 acres. This is the property directly behind ours. We object on several grounds. Firstly, we moved to a 5-acre lot for the privacy and the distance between our properties. If we allow this property to divide, then we can foresee many other properties wanting to do the same. If we wanted to be in an area where the neighbors can peer in the windows, we would live in an urban area. Secondly, we are concerned about our water supply in the aquifer. With the past year's severe drought, it becomes more apparent that we need to protect our water supply. We have a good well so far, but with the addition of another septic field up the incline from our home. It does not project favorably for the future of our water. Please do not allow this subdivision to go forward. It's not a subdivision, it's a zoning.
Right.
And that was from Evelyn Stiff. Right next door.
Hello? This
Yeah.
is, this is Pam again. Also, Ken and Evelyn Stiff are here as well and would like to speak.
Okay,
In addition to the email that I sent you, I just wanted to confirm that grass is cut on that property. It is right behind us. They had sheep there last year. It is definitely looked after. So
And being used.
and being used.
okay, and okay, so we also have a comment here from Lila Perkins. I gotta see it. I have no mic at this time, but I also am concerned with the precedent being made. If you allow one, you will also need to consider others. It will only be a matter of time. Keep us at a minimum of 5 acres, please. That was from Lila Perkins.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, I have a question. If we change this from 5 acres to 2 acres, right now in that area, there are a lot of horse, a donkey, chicken, a few chickens, correct?
Not
On the 5 acres,
Not on 2 acres.
on the 5.
Correct. 5,
So
yes.
as soon as we would go to 2,
They have-
they have no animal rights.
Yeah.
So just to follow up, so if the neighboring property does have
Animals.
yeah. If there's a house getting built there right close to the property line, that well is gonna be close to the chickens and the pigs or whatever.
Could be,
Could be.
could be compromised.
Okay.
That's all something to consider, right? Interesting, okay. Moving forward.
Victor, did you want to say anything else? Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this application? Seeing none, motion to close.
Mover and a seconder? Seconder? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question, all in favor.
The next application then is item 4.1.4. It's a variation application. VO-11-21-C, Part Northwest 151017, Manuк. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a variation application VO-11-21-C at Part Northwest 151017 WPM to reduce the minimum site area from 91.44 meters, 300 feet to 8.99 meters, 29.5 feet. The applicant, Ushi and Helen Anuk. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor.
Is there anyone who would like to speak to the application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Let me just double check. That one, I don't have anything. No. we don't. Nope. Nope.
Once more, anybody online?
Is there anyone online that would like to speak to this application? Seeing none, motion to adjourn public hearing.
Seconders on. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? We'll call for the question, all in favor.
Next item on the agenda is a variation application VO-09-21-C, Part 6, 10, 18 WPM, Palma Wakefield. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a variation application VO-09-21-C at Part Northwest 61018 within the Ag 80 agricultural zone. To to vary the minimum front yard setback from 12.19 meters 40 feet to 10.67 meters 35 feet. And B, to vary the minimum side yard from 4.57 meters 15 feet to 0.61 meters 2 feet. And the applicant, Jerry Palma-Hychuk, Brenda Wakefield. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
Seconder. Call for the question, all in favor.
Would the applicant wish to speak to their application?
She's on the. Are you there, Brenda?
On mute.
Okay. Sorry about that. I think we presented everything. It's just a matter that there's not really enough room to put it that far from the property line.
For the size of the building.
North side.
It's on the north side of our building, on the open area. And we just don't want it too close to the building because then as I said in the letter, that then we may end up if snow load and water coming in the main building, if it's too close.
That's understandable. Anything else?
No.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
My name is Steve Kovac, and I got the building next door to them. And I have no opposition, and I don't care one way or the other, but I did get 2 notices in the mail. And I'm confused about the zoning bylaw. On one of them, the zoning is agriculture, and the other one is commercial. So I'd like to know which is right, because I know what taxes on one are higher than the other.
What do you want it to be?
We've had agriculture all these years, so I'd like to leave it.
Yeah, it is actually zoned agriculture. The first notice you got was an error. That's why you received the second notice. Yeah. But you're not in opposition to the application.
Does that mean my taxes are not going up?
No.
Not yet.
Just confirming, Steve, though, you are not in opposition.
You're not against it.
Okay, okay.
Oh, awesome.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the application?
Has council got any questions for Brenda? I just want to let you know, Brenda, that council is going to do all of the open hearings, and then we are going to vote on them separately at the end of all of the open hearings. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Motion to close.
Mover, Seconder, anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Next item on the agenda, 4.1.6, it's a conditional use application, CU 11-21-C, Part Northeast 181017 WPM, Giovera and Chervelle. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting a conditional use application, CU 11-21-C, to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at Park Northeast 181017 WPM within the Ag 80 agricultural zone. Applicant Giovera Manitoba Surveying Limited. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
I move. I'll second.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Is the applicant wish to speak to the application?
Hello, yeah, we're here. We are in favor of proposed subdivision to subdivide our yard site off of the existing property.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Good evening. My name is Barry Freeman. I live adjacent to the property in question. I'm not in opposition per se with the establishment of non-farm dwelling parcel. My only question is, what is your definitive plan for the balance of the property? If it's just to remain as farmland, or if somebody's going to break it and plant corn or hay or whatever, I don't care. But if you want to sell it off for relatives or something somewhat less desirable, then I do care. And that would be my question at this time.
Janine, would you be able to respond to that?
Yeah, it was hard to hear, but I'm pretty sure they asked what our future plans are with the property. And so we are just planning to keep it as pasture land.
What's that? I have no idea.
Is there any, sorry, yeah?
I really strongly object to that. What would be the point if they're cutting off 20 and subdividing out of an 80 if they're going to leave it as pasture land? Are they willing to put that as a condition of the sale, that the land that is left behind will only be used for hay or pasture land, that it will not be sold to a gravel pit? Are they willing to do that? Condition of sale, Joanne Edwards? Because otherwise, why would they need to divide off their house property for pasture land?
Go ahead.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, so it's Josh here, the landowner. The reason why I'm keeping it in the first place is they don't make land anymore. So in the future, if I'm planning on moving back here, so I can maybe move back to the RM, I can have a place so I can build a house. As far as whatever else we're going to do with it, I've already had a local farmer come and ask about renting the land, wanting to put his cattle out here, and we kind of agreed on a kind of a state there for next year, so that's what the whole purpose is. As far as everything else that you're saying, I think that's kind of ignorant of what you're asking.
But I live in that neighborhood. And we
That's fine. I've lived here for years.
consistently thrown under the gravel trucks out there.
I'm sorry, we're not planning to
Willing to
use
make that
gravel.
condition? sale. Otherwise, strongly object to the subdivision. We bought Ag 80.
Maybe I could just clarify, the subdivision has occurred. As a condition of the subdivision, because it is an agricultural zone, the applicant must apply for a conditional use for the non-farm dwelling parcel. We are only dealing with the parcel that they have subdivided off where the home is.
Thank you.
That's what the public hearing is for the parcel where the home is.
So this is not like a trip to, yeah, it is. What you're saying is you'll look at what they're going to do with the rest of the land after they subdivide, right?
It has been approved as a subdivision. So this
So
public
why
hearing,
are we here then? Why is that up for discussion?
the public hearing is for the non-farm dwelling parcel. That is a condition. And in our zoning bylaw, to have that non-farm dwelling parcel within the Ag 80 zone, they have to have conditional use for it. That is what the public hearing is
I'm
for.
asking for the conditional use to be spelled out clearly.
We're only dealing with the parcel of the house.
Can you bring it up? I don't know if they understand. Yeah,
Have you seen the map?
Well, they
I live
have it.
there.
Yes, they have, yeah, yes. I don't know if I can show.
okay, that's good.
I object that. Me too.
Would you stand and state your name and whether you,
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm Jackie Ramsey,
okay,
Jackie Ramsey,
okay,
and I am against that gravel pit going up behind us too.
That's a separate hearing, ma'am. This is just for the conditional use for the non-farm dwelling parcel.
Okay, I object to that.
I'm sorry, can I? We aren't planning or proposing a gravel pit on our land that we're keeping. I'm not sure that Jackie understands what subdivision you're talking about. The gravel pit proposal is across the road from us.
They know that.
Is it? Yes.
So do the letters get read that were dropped off pertaining to any of these?
Yes, I have letters, but I don't have any letters that are specific to this part. Oh, pardon me. Yes, I do. I just haven't got there yet. Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak to the application? Again, this is for the non-farm dwelling parcel conditional use.
Mr. Chairperson, can Donna maybe explain exactly the subdivision is taking place? I'm not sure if people fully understand it. Can you explain it?
So
I
this,
think they're getting mixed up.
Yeah.
This one and the gravel.
Yeah, when I hear gravel pits, I'm thinking that there's something mixed up here.
there are two different parcels of property. This particular application is not dealing with a residual parcel that was subdivided. It is dealing with the conditional use for the non-farm parcel where the house is. There's another application that will be coming after this that is dealing with the property across the way, which is a conditional use for an aggregate quarry. This particular property does not have an application for an aggregate quarry.
Yeah.
That's where I got confused.
Back off. Yes. Oh, okay.
Okay, so is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to this application? Okay, so I've received a few letters.
Okay,
This, and again, I'm not So these, I have two of them, and Mrs. Edwards, did you want me to read these ones then that you'd sent earlier today?
No, I'm sure your people have read them, and I think
No,
that-
ma'am, they haven't.
Oh, well, go ahead.
These can only be presented at the hearing.
Then you go ahead and read them
Okay.
because you're able to carry your voice clearer. I'm
Okay.
asking, go ahead.
Okay, so I wish to attend the in-person council meeting to add my voice about zoning changes and subdivide and not notified by planning. What studies have been done on water, air, climate pollution, effects from multiple and unclaimed existing pits in future? Who will own the new quarry? And what is the history in the other areas and what is the potential income from the quarry? So I was unsure which ones these were for.
That was for the other one?
Okay, for the other one.
Yep.
Okay, so this one talks about both in the letter.
Yep.
This one is regarding the, called stay of proceedings to contest Welkowski subdivide, aggregate quarry purchase, change of zoning from Ag 80, and to contest the non-farm dwelling Chervelle. Recently, a neighbor gave us copies of 3 notices of public hearing. We strongly object to these proceedings. I contacted Natural Works, GIS for water services for info on the aquifer and possible contamination from equipment and diesel and various spills. Also contacted Mines and Energy in Verdun, but on such short notice for them and us, we have not received information. Is this something that council has ever done? The dust, noise, air quality of the numerous pits that you already allowed to encroach onto Ag 80 is a blight on the entire neighborhood. Do any of the days council live within any of these existing and proposed quarries? What does non-farm dwelling mean? What does conditional use mean? Dust mitigation cannot keep down the fine silt and dust that the machinery that drifts for literally miles on it any day. What is the final stop area for this devious encroachment? Do we get a decrease in our taxes? And do you intend to compensate neighbors for our decreased value and use of our farmland? Come here and see and listen to a working quarry from our front yard. What exactly is the intent of a new pit, owners? What's going on? We strongly resist the agenda of environmental disgrace the council is doing. Dwight and Joanne Edwards. So there was one question in here with regard to this application, and it was, what does a non-farm dwelling mean and what does conditional use mean? So the non-farm dwelling means that it is a residential dwelling unit, generally 10 acres in an Ag 80 zone. And under our zoning bylaw, you must have a conditional use to have the non-farm dwelling parcel in the Ag zone. Okay, this is a letter with regard to this application. And again, I will read it for the variation as well. These plans smell of the same intention that the plan CU-10-21C has going for it. This particular property had a sold sign placed on it November 4th, 2021. We received the planning district letter the same day. Seems like things have already been decided on these 2 plans without public input. Will the people that saved and probably mortgaged enough money to purchase this house with only 13.92 acres out of the 160 it currently sits on, be informed that once their money goes through to said owner, Joshua Chervelle, that they may face a new for sale sign on the remaining 146.08 acres for an aggregate quarry as well? Do they know that across the road, 99 feet away, that another aggregate quarry is in the planning table for November 16th, 2021 as well? Plan number CU-10-21C. I hope, like Hal, someone has the decency to better inform everybody that will be deeply hurt by this planning district's intentions and to compensate those that lose the value in their homes and property because of these plans. This will bankrupt some young people who are blindsided by what is going on here. The people who are purchasing this house will, I'm sure, not have any knowledge or a letter about the plans around their new home. And that's from Paul and Glenna Lofterby. And that is all.
Questions for the people? No?
Motion to close the hearing?
I need a mover and seconder. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor?
The next application or public hearing is for the variation application VO 10 21 C, part northeast 181017, Giovera Chevelle. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting variation application VO 10 21 C to vary the maximum size area from 10 acres to 13.92 acres in the northeast of 181017 within the Ag 80 agricultural general zone. The application or the applicant is Giovera Manitoba Surveying Limited. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
Seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Would the applicant like to speak to the variation application?
Yeah, we're here. Same thing. We'd like it for to go forward as planned.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the variation application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the variation application? And the letter that I just read, it also pertains to this variation application. Would council wish me to read that again? Yep.
If you want.
I
sure.
will, yeah. These plans smell of the same intentions that Plan CU 10 21 C has going for it. This particular property has a sold sign placed on it November the 4th, 2021, and we received the planning district letter the same day. Seems like things have already been decided on these two plans without public input. Will the people that saved and probably mortgaged enough money to purchase this house with only 13.92 acres out of the 160 it currently sits on be informed that once their money goes through to said owner Joshua Chevelle, that they may face a new for sale sign on the remaining 146 acres or an aggregate quarry as well? Do they know that across the road 99 feet away that another aggregate quarry is on the planning table November 16th as well, plan number CU 1021-C? I hope like Cal, someone has the decency to better inform everybody that will be deeply hurt by this planning district's intentions and to compensate those that lose the value in their homes and properties because of these plans. This will bankrupt some young couple who are blindsided by what is going on here. The people who are purchasing this house will, I'm sure, not have any knowledge or a letter about the plans around their new home. Paul and Glenna Lockerbie.
Hi, council. I'm wondering if I can actually just add to that letter or answer some of the questions that were asked in there.
You sure can.
So the buyers that did purchase the yard site, and why there's the sold sign at the end of our lane, they do know of the plans that are happening across the road. And they've also been in talks with us what we are planning to do with the land that we are keeping. Just so that the public knows. Like, we haven't hidden anything from them, and they are aware of the quarry that is being proposed across the road.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, thank you.
Does anybody in the audience have anything they want to question or ask? Or add?
Seeing none, motion to adjourn this public hearing.
Mover?
Campbell?
One second.
Sam? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question, all in favor.
Next item on the agenda, 4.1.8, conditional use application CU-10-21-C, part northwest 171017 WPM, Russell Ready Mix Concrete. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting conditional use application CU-10-21C to establish an aggregate quarry on the northwest of 171017 WPM within the Ag 80 agricultural zone. Applicant is Russell Ready Mix Concrete. Motion to adjourn to public hearing.
Seconder? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question, all in favor. You're gonna step out, okay?
Is the
Councillor Agar is stepping out because he is involved with a gravel pit.
The gravel pit.
Not this one,
Not
no,
this
no, it's just so that it removes him so that there is no conflict. Oh, yeah, like you said.
Is the applicant in attendance and wish to speak to their application?
Yeah, sure. I'm Alexander Gray from Russell Ready Mix, and we're applying for conditional use to open an aggregate pit on the said land, and it would be for use on multiple infrastructure projects within the province and municipality, multiple levels of government. Yeah, sorry.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the application? Anyone online who would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Once again, very favorite, members of the council. While I'm not directly adjacent to them, it's close enough to raise a lot of concerns. Where I live right now, the nearest pit is roughly 3/4 of a mile away. Any given day, I can stand on my back, I can hear 3 different pressure runs. The nearest one, 3/4 of a mile away, the proposed pit will be closer than that. The farthest one is about 1.5 miles. And I dare say this past spring, again, from another operator who doesn't even live in the municipality, I lost a lot of sleep as Mr. Poker will be can attest to, because our ditch came up a lot. Pardon my language. At what point, with the traffic, the noise, the dust, the deterioration of the environment, at what point is yard gravel worth more than our quality of life?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Since we've received our letters, I looked into and received a copy of the quarry minerals regulations. And this is only if, I totally agree with everything this man said. I live 99 feet across from this, so I probably have the biggest opposition to this. If I can never go out in my yard because of dust and dirt and noise that we see 3/4 of a mile away. It's a 30-foot high wall of dust virtually most of the summer. And now with climate change, we got the southwest winds constantly. And one car goes by our house now and blankets our yard. I can't imagine what this is gonna be. Anyway, in the quarry regulations, and this is just blanket talk, it discusses opacity, monitoring of 5% or less particulate matter in the air. I'd like to know who, that's just one item. Then monitoring of gasolines and oils in these pits on the aquifer. Noise control monitors. Who's gonna measure the appropriate distance from my house to where this excavation can take place and where these beautiful soil piles that get pushed back along the fence line, how close they can be to our houses? I'd like to know who monitors and who enforces this stuff. In these regulations, if you're gonna be in residential area and along provincial roads, those dirt piles, as explained in here, are not to be vegetated with tumbleweeds. They're supposed to be vegetated with an appropriate vegetation, so it's not a public eyesore. Either that, or they plant trees to block the public view of this stuff. So this has a very valuable amount of information. These regulations that were sent to me by the chief inspector of Barry Wilder, Dale Ride, mines inspector. Anyway, I just want to know who audits these pits and who is going to make sure these regulations actually take place, because the whole area is getting to be an eyesore with tumbleweeds. Our fence lines are covered in them when they're blowing off of these waste piles. And our quality of life and the ability to breathe in our yard, I'm sure it'll be hell out there if what I see 3/4 of a mile south is 99 feet from my property line.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
What Paul was saying, well, what we were gonna say too.
Go ahead.
I object to another gravel pit opening in our area, and my objections are based on the following reasons. Number one, I understand that there is a gravel pit from the surrounding, or there is a gravel tax from the surrounding pits. Who monitors the amount of gravel being hauled out? How much revenue does this tax bring in? The second one is the people in this area who have to endure these pits receive no benefits from them. Roads are not being monitored. They are hardly ever graded. And when they are, it's very inadequate. There is very limited dust control. For example, Thompson Road from Brown Road to Curry's Landing has no dust control, and there should be. There is a lot of traffic on that stretch. Also, Kissick Road needs more dust control. During a little patch here, doing a little patch in front of a yard site is far from adequate. Kissick Road is a haul road, but there is no speed control on it. I've clocked trucks and B-trains doing 100 kilometers an hour past people's residence. There is no weed control for these pits. Tumbleweeds are so bad, they are taking out fences. And I have plenty of proof in pictures to prove that. Constant noise pollution. Some of these pits are crushing, separating, and hauling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Plus, even though there is and engine brake restrictions in the municipality. Many of these trucks are not obeying those restrictions. So we have to listen to that popping noises and times during the day and night. At times daily. Many of these pits are not being cleaned up and are leaving an unsightly mess behind them. They should be leveled, topsoiled, and put back on and reseeded to prairie grass. There is no reason for another pit to open up. There is a lot of pits in operation now, and there is no shortage of gravel at this time. Opening a pit this close to people's residence would be highly disrespectful to the taxpayers in that area. They established their yard sites when there was no threat of pits being opening next to them. I'm sure they would never have settled where they did if there was a threat of a pit opening next to them. If this pit opens, there is property residue. If this pit opens, their property value would plummet. Imagine trying to sell property in the vicinity of a pit. I could go on and on, but I think I've discussed a few of the negative points in this application. As I tried pointing out, there is absolutely no benefit to the people in this surrounding area to having another pit open up, as they have received no benefits from the existing gravel pits at all.
Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We are writing to voice our opposition to the requested rezoning of 56-14-1 Road 101 West in the Northwest Quarter, 1710-17 West, Plan number CU-10-21-C. The request is to rezone Ag 80 Agricultural General Zone to establish an aggregate quarry. As landowners in the area, we did not receive formal notice of this requested rezoning until November 6th, and which was provided by our adjacent neighbors along Whiten Road. We recognize that the property owners do not have to provide formal notice beyond 100 meters from the above mentioned property. We request consideration of our letter and the opportunity to present the concerns again related to the aggregate quarry process. The aggregate quarries have more than doubled in the municipality of Cornwallis, and particularly in the region along Whiten Road and to the south of Thompson Road in the last 10 years. The creation of the pits requires the removal of virtually all natural vegetation, topsoil and subsoil to reach the aggregate. The impact of this type of landscaping results in the loss of natural vegetation and habitats for wildlife. The ultimate impact is the loss of the biodiversity in the area. Further degradation occurs as a result of the loss of and impact to natural waterways, as well as impact to the aquifer system. One must wonder if the aquifer as part of this ecosystem is considered to be a threatened resource. The loss of our landscape is impacted by the unsightly berms which have been pushed to the very extreme edges of the property lines. These are now covered in tumbleweeds, are an eyesore, and continue to impede drivers' progress. It is noted that in the last year there has been some reduction at the corners of these berms to improve sight lines for drivers. There is still more that can be done. Overall, our view of the Brandon Hills is now marred by the pyramids of gravel built up and the dust created when the pits are running at full capacity, simply intolerable. Individuals with respiratory conditions are limited to their homes because of the increased dust and debris now consuming our once quiet and peaceful agricultural zone. In addition to the lack of view, our day-to-day life now has extensive noise and light pollution related to the continuous pounding of the crushers, loaders, haulers, or the constant drone of the semis up and down our roads. The increased traffic of half tons on Whiten Road alone has been incredible. These are not Cornwallis tax-paying citizens who drive our roads and are mindful of the pedestrians. They are strangers who have no regard for speed limits and our people. They have a purpose to come and go from the pit, plain and simple. Some pits have run 24/7 in past years, particularly during the spring, summer, and fall months. It would appear that there is no preservation of our environment. There's no long or short-term environmental planning by our Reeve Council. The value of our homes has been or will be negatively impacted by the continued expansion and destruction of our rural landscape and environment. If our home values continue to depreciate related to the presence and extended creep of these quarries, will the municipality provide us with a reduction in taxes? Will they provide us with safe drinking water delivered to our homes as they have allowed the degradation of the aquifer? Is there really a provincial directive to ensure that agricultural land in this area remains zoned as agricultural land? Or is that simply a ruse to prevent land division and sales in this area to move east rather than west from the city of Brandon? Agricultural zones, which we have been apprised many times, valuable farmland and that the province supports in maintaining as zoned Ag 80 farmland. In addition to the development of new quarries, we have the abandoned and derelict quarries with debris and derelict equipment, pieces strewn about, rusting and rotting within them. The sites themselves have had absolutely no rehabilitation to the topography of the land. There is no planning and no foresight on the part of this municipality nor the province. For Sam Hofer, it is the province's responsibility to make the owners clean up their pits, yet it is our municipality that receives royalties for every load of gravel removed from these pits. Upon review of the RM of Springfield's website, it is noted that they have a bylaw number 73-22 to regulate and control the operation of gravel pits and quarries, which, while it was developed in 1973, had considerable foresight into the impact of quarries. It proposes such brave insight and planning for the future as no permit shall be issued for and no excavation shall be made in an area closer than 100 feet from any property boundary and be 250 feet from a habitable residence existing at the time a permit is applied for. Each permittee shall provide and maintain a security deposit for the rehabilitation of the pit, and they provide that security deposit to the municipality for the protection of the pit during any period that it is not being operated and has not been rehabilitated. When they talk about the amount, it was at that time 5 cents per ton in 1973 per ton of material removed, and it shall continue to be paid until such time as the total amount of the security on the deposit under the license is $100,000 or an amount at that time equal to $500 per acre. For further review of their document suggests that where possible and while the pit is in operation, rehabilitate the pit to the final grade and contours indicated in the site plan. It would seem that there can and should be an environmental impact evaluated from the number of quarries within this area. Areas that I would propose be addressed include an engineered evaluation of the impact to our aquifer. What are the water values today for hardness and clarity as compared to 25 years ago? Residents report increase in rust and calcium as anecdotal. However, a full evaluation from this municipality is needed. Cornwallis receives money regularly from pit operations, and therefore some of this money needs to be redirected to the environmental scan that is desperately needed here. Implementation of a municipal oversight of all pits and quarries in the municipality for those currently in use and those not in use. During a discussion with Mr. Hofer recently, he indicated that the pit 1 mile south of my home was no longer in use. Yet this pit has been running for the last 2 to 3 years at minimum, and continued gravel being removed. Should we not invest in a quarry and pit inspector for our municipality? And no, this is not the responsibility of our lone constable for Cornwallis to further police. He can barely keep up with the speed infractions and inebriated drivers. Preventative measures and guidelines need to be drafted and prepared, which would provide direction to anyone inquiring to establish a pit here. As an example, the RM of Springfield indicates that berms can be seeded, have trees and vegetation to prevent that erosion. The same applies after the rehabilitation of the pit. This is called stewardship of our land, and our council needs to establish this now for the future of our environment and our municipality. On a final note, no further entertainment of the pits for rezoning of agricultural land should be granted until the above measures have been investigated, reported, and implemented. Due diligence on the part of our council is requested immediately. Sincerely, Todd and Kathy Ward.
Thank you, Kathy. Has anybody got any questions
I'd
for
like
Kathy?
to- I wanted to speak in opposition of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, and that's okay. Yeah, we're all there. I'm Lynn Forks, I'm here representing myself, Dave Forks, and we are opposed to the development of a quarry at this location. Here we are within a year of Primer's aggregate application, and as predicted, Wolkowski's land has an aggregate quarry application. And I'm sure next will be Sherwood's. This aggregate application directly impacts the new home adjacent to the proposed site, as well as Edwards, Ramsey's, Lockerbie's, Bernie's, and Longstaff's, plus those of us just an arm length away. In the past year, it is disturbing how much excavation has been done and how deep they are excavating. What about the water table? Is anyone concerned about contamination? We have sandpoint wells at our place, which are between 15 and 20 feet. Some excavation looks 45 to 50 foot deep, maybe more. It appears to me that the more the water table drops, the deeper and faster they dig. Operations go all days and all hours. The quarries are unsightly and they contaminate our properties with weeds, dust, and affect the quiet enjoyment of our homes. To our knowledge, there are no conditions attached to their quarry operations for weed control or for screening their operations for our view with shelter belts. If they are applying weed control, it isn't working well enough. Weed control has become an ongoing issue for us with all the weeds blowing into our property and fence lines from the pits. Worst of all, and most concerning to us, the quarries have an enormous impact on our investment. Most people's largest investment is in their home. They plan to sell at some point to finance their retirement. Having aggregate quarries up to your property line is not a selling feature. As we have been told repeatedly, the land in our area is not highly valued as typical agricultural land. However, there is a great deal of residential growth in the area, which has created a demand for residential acreages, as is evident by the application for the 4-phase acreage development on the table now. I would presume that most residents in the vicinity of the proposed quarry are contemplating subdividing and selling some acreages when they are prepared to sell their home. In my opinion, more residences would be an asset for the RM of Cornwallis, resulting in a substantial increase in the tax base. Personally, I would prefer acreages to gravel pits. Well, do Wolkowski's plan to live on site or sell the acreage after the subdivision is complete? I am assuming they will move. Great for them, get the golden handshake and move on. Not so great for those of us left to deal with the quarry. Where is our golden handshake? I wonder if this quarry was proposed adjacent to or across from the Cottonwoods or Sprucewoods residential areas, if it would even be up for consideration. Many more voices there to oppose. In fact, we have heard rumors of a waste lagoon being established to service the residents of Cottonwoods and Sprucewoods located off Curry's Landing Road and southwest of Thompson Road. How much money does the RM receive out of the quarry? We've never been told. If it is such a significant amount, then those of us affected should be sharing in the windfall as our daily lives and our financial security is being impacted by council's choices and decisions. At the very least, the excavation operators should be contributing into a reserve fund to cover our costs to spray, plant trees to hide the view of all the excavation activities, to slow down the dust and to buffer the sound, and most importantly, to offset the lower prices we will receive when selling our properties. If aggregate quarries are so important, come to us and offer to buy us all out. To our knowledge, not one member of council lives in the affected area.
If any one of your family members was living across from the proposed site, would you be so quick to consider approval, knowing that their financial security is at risk? I doubt it. To my knowledge, council members have never reached out to residents in the area to discuss our concerns or to present us with a plan for development. Why not? On a different note, it is my understanding that only one neighbor received notice of this application. If in fact that is the case, this application should be tabled until a later date to allow more time for input and investigation. As council members, you have a sworn responsibility to all residents, regardless of aggregate. Decisions that impact people's financial security should be deliberated and made with a moral conscience. Thank you.
What she said. Is there anyone else in the, yes?
Remember here, Walt. I don't have any written down, but my concerns are with the water table. I can't understand why this council is allowing relatives to move north and where we all live. And there's other places, and I'd also like to ask council, how many new gravel pits have been opened south of the road? Existing gravel pits there, how many new ones have been opened down there versus where we are? Zero, right?
I'm not sure how many areas in the south side, that's new. There's not very many. Couple of new ones.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of southeast of where the proposal is, there's a lot of wasteland. It's been moving into our area, and affecting our life, where nobody lives. Why do you have to come this way? Why do you have to come to the north? Why do you have to have that? Why not zero?
I guess to answer your question, there's different aggregates that are found in different locations. And not everything services all the needs that we're looking for. So when looking at this current location, we tested it and it is a suitable gravel source for continued work with in infrastructure as far as road gravel for highways and municipalities.
Have you tried the southeast?
We have actually opened a pit south where I think you're talking a few years ago, yeah. And we utilize that material and.
How far down you allowed to dig? Like how far you allowed to go down? Yeah, I'm worried about my water.
He doesn't know.
It's based on your water table or whatever.
Once you get it, it's too late, right?
We're not supposed to go below the below the actual water table that exists in the pit. And that's what when we apply for our pit permits and whatnot, we do our research and dig our holes and we cap it at a certain depth within each pit itself, so.
Well, there's just south of us on the railway track towards Shiloh Farms there. It's all open and that back in that area, lots of gravel. You guys could be going back in there with nobody lives. It's way beyond anybody.
Yeah, wasteland.
Yeah, they could go there instead of going around where we're living.
We'll get back on track here. Have you got more? Okay, we'll go on to the next one. We're not gonna get into an argument tonight. Go ahead.
My name's Donna Shadlock, and we live at the corner of Veterans Way and Whiten Road. And Sam knows who we are, because I'm constantly complaining about gravel trucks going down our road. We are a no truck route. And lately, they have been coming at night, going down to the pits. They don't give a damn about that they're on a no truck route. We can't even have our windows open because of the dust from them. But not only that, they're coming up from the pits. They're not stopping at that stop sign. There's gonna be an accident there someday, and somebody's gonna get killed. It's not gonna be the truck driver to say, oh, sorry. It's gonna be the family that gets killed. We were out in our yard the other day. There was a co-op fuel truck came through. He never even stopped at the stop sign. Now, that's just one example. These gravel trucks are going to use this road all the time. And I feel sorry for the people on Thompson Road. Put up with their dust.
My name is Marie Stewart, and other than Darcy, I think we've lived on Whiten Road for 50 years. We're the oldest living, oh, I hate to say that, but we are the oldest living inhabitant there. And there was pits when we moved there 50 years ago, south, it was White's pit, white and gravel. Why can't you get gravel from there? There's a pit on Curry's Landing Road, north of Veterans Way, that's up for sale. Why can't you buy that one and get your gravel from there? That's all.
In addition to that, please have a letter that you like to have in front of you. That I can read it, you can read it, you're better at it. This
Name,
letter,
Name.
we found out that, I mean,
Name,
Wayne Stewart,
okay,
sorry.
no problem.
Wayne. Reading the letter with these people. We learned that our section 1910-17 has been designated rural residential, which until a few days ago, we weren't aware of that thing. And I guess what concerns me, or what my question is from a rural residential location, you can allow at basically kitty corner across the road from that type of thing. And I can only agree with what's already been brought up, that if we have water concerns, you mentioned that you can't go below the aquifer.
I meant the water table. You're not supposed to go without the water table without like performing.
We get pristine water and all we need is type of thing. We have a good pristine valve, and it's only about 12 to 13 feet below the surface. So in your case, do you get enough gravel to 12 feet?
In the case of the Wachowski pit, from the results that we did, the pit is not, I don't think, deeper than around 20 feet. The gravel ends and you get into a clay, sort of substance. So it's like extreme depths in this situation, from what we see, are not, gonna happen.
Yeah, sometimes what we don't see happen today, next year it happens. That's it.
No, I understand.
But water is a big concern. The other concern has been brought up multiple times, property values. Like, nobody wants to live next to a gravel pit. It's not going to enhance the value of a property. With that, I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Yes.
Okay, so I do have a few written responses as well. So this is from Dwight and Joanne Edwards. Recently, a neighbor gave us copies of 3 notices of public hearing. We strongly object to these proceedings. I contacted Natural Works GIS for water services for info on the aquifer and possible contamination from equipment and diesel and various spills. Also contacted Mines and Energy and Burden, but on such short notice for them and us, we have not received the information. Is this something that council has ever done? The dust, noise, and air quality of the numerous pits that you already have allowed to encroach onto Ag AB zone is a blight on this entire neighborhood. Do any of the council live within any of these existing and proposed quarries? What does non-farm dwelling mean, and what does conditional use mean? Dust mitigation cannot keep down the fine silt and dust that the machinery that drifts for literally miles on any day. What is the final stop for this devious encroachment? Do we get a decrease in our taxes? And do you intend to compensate neighbors for our decreased value and use of our farmland? Come here and see and listen to the working quarry from our front yard. What exactly is the intent of the new pit owners? What's going on? We strongly resist the agenda of environmental disgrace that council is doing. Again, that's Dwight and Joanne Edwards. Ron and Vicki Wilson. We are opposed to the development of an aggregate quarry at this location. I am not happy to hear this might be happening. I feel we are getting too close to residential area. We are already hearing noise from the other pits throughout the night and early mornings. I was up the other night at 1:30 in the morning and could hear a pit still working. So much for noise control. Why didn't I phone in? What good would it do just to be told that you would look into it? I have nothing but trouble with tumbleweeds lining my fences up because the pits have not had to do anything to control weeds or sound. With the new proposal, this would make us that much closer to the problem. Last spring, I took down to our dump 32 construction bags of tumbleweeds and 3 truckloads of tumbleweeds in one day. You may think this is funny, but I don't. I am a taxpayer and I take great pride in my place. Would you consider if it was across from Spruce Woods living area? I would think not. Are you going to pay for the ditches at the bottom of the road to be sprayed because of all the weeds that have left seeds down there? Are you going to refund us money to having to spray our fields and our lower ditches from these weeds? As a council, you have a responsibility to the taxpayers and add loss of value to our places because we live close to the gravel pits. There are hardly any near our place when we bought in 1985. Would we have bought here thinking that we would have a gravel pit all over? The answer is no. I am asking that you think of us when you consider. Plan number CU-10-21-C. We spent 30 years here developing and building our property to someday sell and finance what we will need in retirement with the equity. A gravel pit across the road, 99 feet from our front yard, will make our house and property worthless. This type of business will devastate what we worked all our lives to have and definitely our quality of life. We won't be able to open our windows, work in our gardens or yard, hear the birds and watch the wildlife, sunsets and Brandon Hills. This will be replaced by 24-hour gravel crushing, large equipment, backup alarms constantly, a yard so dusty we won't be able to use for health reasons from the dust, large bright shining lights all night long that illuminate the work area, and of course the large black sandy dirt piles and tumbleweeds that scar the face of the earth in this area, and now will be 99 feet from our property frontage on Thompson Road. Also, the blowing dust constantly off of these gravel pit waste piles will make all of our houses worthless. There appears to be, excuse me, there appears to be only 3 that will benefit from such a venture amongst our homes. 1, Russell Ready Mix Concrete, 2, Dean Earl and Debbie Marie Wolkowski, and 3, the RM of Cornwallis in business and tax revenue. Who loses? Every tax-paying citizen that lives out here and will have a lifetime of good country living swept out at the stroke of a pen by a certain few and very poor planning of who gets hurt by such ventures and greediness. These pits are currently 1 mile south of us and create enough noise and dusty, dirty, ugly conditions. Keep them 1 mile away from our homes. Paul and Glenna Locker. And it goes on to say, if these letters are the future of what we can expect from Keystone Planning, then these operators of gravel operations should be made to compensate any owners of homes and land within a mile of such operations. Full market value of their houses, buildings, and current agricultural values per acre of lands owned, so we can relocate to similar living conditions we enjoy now. One more. Some of the following reasons in no particular order are we, or why we are definitely against granting a permit to establish an aggregate quarry at the northwest quarter of 1710-17, plan number CU-10-21C. Possible deterioration of groundwater and wells, Very concerned with a deep gravel pit within a quarter mile may affect our pristine and readily available well water. Noise, the noise, loaders, crushers, trucks, etc. from existing pits 1.5 miles away, often 24 hours a day, is quite noticeable at our place. So a pit a quarter mile would be much worse. Dust, depending on winds, an operational gravel pit, crusher, loader, trucks, etc. within a quarter mile would definitely cause unwanted dust in our yard and home. Road traffic. Although we are not on a haul road, there would be additional traffic of lighter vehicles to service an additional pit. And define devaluation of property value. Who wants a gravel pit in their backyard? The arm of Cornwallis' apparent lack of concern for long-term ratepayers and only concern for big business and the almighty dollar is very disappointing. Concerned ratepayers Wayne and Maurice Stewart. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the application?
Just one more question. So I did ask, who enforces the quarry regulations? When one's established that are all in the quarry regulations.
Yeah, the quarry regulations are a provincial regulation.
So somebody from the province
Should
would
be the-
do audits on these quarries?
It should be the mines branch.
Line for it. So municipality, once you grant a pit, basically, it's just
Out of your
run
hands.
wild unless these guys show up.
You have no responsibility to
Once you grant a gravel pit, nobody enforces any of this, other than, like you said, just I'd have to.
It should be driven by complaints as well.
Just to answer your question there, that formula, that mines regulations is a provincial, like provincial set of rules. So provincially, they do enforce that task. Now, the municipality has their own set of bylaws and whatnot that we have to withhold to, but for that actual document you're talking about, that gentleman Dale Ride, I spoke with him multiple times in the past. He would be the guy that if you had concerns with the pit, you could bring it up. And he would then get in touch with me or the pit holder, the pit permit holder, and it would be taken from there. So, and I'm fairly, I don't know exactly everything in that document from front to back, but I am fairly familiar with it. And we do abide by the rules.
Well, nobody down there abides by these rules because there wouldn't be the dirt piled all along the fence lines. There's either supposed to be trees planted or a vegetated berm that isn't a public eyesore. For one thing, there's 5% particulate matter can be allowed in the air. I don't suppose there's somebody sitting in a lawn chair with a monitor for noise and soon as the dust particles exceed 5%, they wave at you, shut your crushers down, it's all flowing into our yard. Like,
Are you prepared to quit crushing if it's a windy day?
In some instances, we have to, yeah, because it affects our product.
So do I own you?
Yeah, and I guess I was gonna put this out here. I know that I definitely don't have all the answers for everybody, and I don't think I can make everyone happy, but a few things that were brought up today that I heard were, concerns with trucks. And I don't speak for every truck that's out there on those roads, but we do obviously look after quite a few of them. And I'd be willing to give my number out for that, for if you do have issues with the truck. I can help that. Same as some of the other concerns with the crushing. We didn't spray our pit down south this year because of the kochia, that a tumbleweed issue or whatever, but we did go and we mowed it all. So we didn't create any of those, growing tumbleweeds and stuff like that. So we're not here to just kind of try to take gravel and make everybody mad. We want to try and get along, right? So.
We're not against advancement either, but it is, I'm not kidding. I'm gonna be looking at a wall of black dirt.
No, and.
I just want to reiterate again, nothing you could say would convince us that we would be happy with a quarry.
Yeah.
A quarter of a mile from our house,
figured
which
that.
is where it'd be. But I also wanted to make mention that Bev knows that I have issues, and she tries to notify me when the trucks are going down our road, which she didn't last year. And our windows were open, and the gravel trucks were using us as a shortcut. Called Sam, called White, then I was right to the hospital, into the respiratory unit. The dust was so thick, we could not see across the road. We could not see Lockerbie's light at nighttime because they were still going. You know how close their house is to ours? We couldn't see their yard light for dust. Do you know how thick that was? Thick enough that when Bev called me, Dwight was already taking me in to the respiratory unit where they put me on Ventolin just to clear my lungs. And I stayed there for the rest of the day. Another time I went over to a neighbor's because it was over it once, right? That would be Cottonwoods where they don't have gravel pits. But our road, it's for the municipality. It's municipality trucks ripping and tearing, ripping and tearing. I have sent so many pictures to Darwin, to Sam, of these trucks and the dust that they throw up. And we don't get any dust mitigation. Do you think that we're going to get any more from you when those winds are southwest? We actively farm. We have hayland. We have livestock, just like Ramsey's. We're not somebody out there's mowing grass. We are making hay. Lockerbie's have fields of crop. We're not looking at mowing grass. This is working farmland. Tyler's having issues with people wanting them to be 5-acre parcels. We would give anything to have 5-acre parcels instead of a quarry. You want to start a subdivision, you come in our area, but no, you push it east. Push it away from our area, and we're ag. And you're going to break us up for a gravel pit? I have lived in this municipality for 29 years. I was born in Carberry. I know sand. I know water. My daughter lives in Forest. Do you think they allow these gravel pits to run everywhere? They do not. That's all I have to say. Nothing will make me agree to that. Thank you for listening. And Bev, I do thank you when you phone and warn me.
Anything else? Have you got any final comments you want to make?
Just the only thing that one other concern that I did hear today or whatever was about the rehabilitation of the gravel pits. There is an active program within provincial government for that. We pay into a pot. We pay about 7.5 cents per ton. That all goes towards rehabilitation of the gravel pit after it's complete. And we actively are a part of that program. We haven't done one in this municipality, but in closer ones to home, like Prairie View and Russell, where we have completed gravel pits, we then apply for the rehabilitation and that takes place. So just to, we do look at the overall putting the land back, the way it somewhat was.
That's in 100 years, so.
Yeah, you're not gonna just take gravel on for 6 months and call it a day.
No, exactly, but I just heard concerns about old pits and that, so I just bring forward that, and that, like I said.
But in here, before you even establish a pit, or as soon as you decide you're gonna push the topsoil up, it has to be planted to a vegetated state, those push piles. Or trees planted to block the public view. This is, like I said, from the mines inspector Dale Wright. He sent this to me, and I swear whatever I read in here, nothing's getting done.
Nothing else? Oh, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, just a clarification. I think that people think the municipalities get rich on gravel. I'll make a comment here. There's not much money left at the end of the year from the money that's being made. It's all getting pumped back into the truck routes. So people that are thinking out there, it's a money machine for the RM, correct me if I'm wrong, Donna. There's not much left at the end of the year. It takes a lot of money.
You don't break even as business, you're only breaking even while you're even happening.
Well,
You don't have a gravel pit, you don't have to maintain the road as much.
we do need our own
Pretty damn
gravel.
simple.
Another clarification I'm gonna make, this council on October the 27th, we got criticized here a few minutes ago by the lady at the end of the road here. Well, you need to get notified of any issues. The Reeve, and I pushed for it, call a meeting on October the 27th, open meeting, bring your concerns. I didn't hear, and I was hoping the people from that area would basically go online and we learn from these things.
Didn't you actually tell me once that's where the money is, when I said, why are these gravel trucks on our road? And you said, well, the gravel pits is where the money is, so
No,
don't be double talking now.
No, I'm talking to the lady again. So we gave residents throughout this municipality an opportunity to go online. I'm not gonna get into the debate here. We had a good interaction. We allowed 2 hours, but I think we almost went 3. It was for this. Yeah, it was very productive. I wish you folks would have gone online and we want to learn. I
As a
learned from these.
counselor, why didn't you come out and get to the area and sort of make it known?
So-
How would we know about whatever you're talking about?
We,
You have to be online. You have to
it was
apply it
online.
on yourself.
It was in the Brandon Sun. Donna.
They don't deliver up
We
to us
don't get them
anymore.
out of the
It was on our website. So anyway, we're trying to,
Okay,
don't
sir.
expect me,
Let's,
but
let's
anyways,
move on.
I
what-
would like to say
what
though
Mrs.
that-
Edwards was referring to here last year, and we gave those truck routes, it's in our contract, the truck that you were referring to, and we dealt with it. Donna made the phone call and just slowed down. That they,
Slow down,
when they
wasn't it?
gravel our roads, they can use the shortest route. I think that's only fair.
How convenient for you, not for us who are there being dusted out.
But anyway, that's in our contract, and I can't see that changing.
Chairman, one more thing.
Yeah.
Quick question, right?
The amount we can charge per yard of gravel being distracted is set by the province. We would like to get more, but we can't. We have a limit. I don't know what it is at the moment, what we get for road.
It's capped and it's been
It's-
capped
it's
since
been
two
capped
thousand and
for,
thirteen.
I don't know how long, and we are after the province to raise it, at least to a different standard, whatever, but it takes a long time. We'll see how it goes.
But if it's not making a municipality any money, why are you letting them be developed?
Because we need the gravel too.
Yeah, but why it's so close to our homes? Would you like a gravel pit sitting next to your house?
No, I wouldn't.
Highly
I know that.
unlikely.
I know that.
If he's not doing it, he's not gonna sell it in Cornwallis, he's gonna put it up to us.
I don't think I'll take it to Russell.
This is not a debate, and I would appreciate it if everybody would respect that. What we're going to do is,
Dictatorship?
no, it's not dictatorship,
Oh, my God.
and I don't want it to be that way. But I don't want it to be out of control either. We're here to hear your concerns. We're here to put those concerns forward so we can make an honest opinion and decision on whether to move ahead with it or not. And Mr. Did,
My question is basically on the rehabilitation. I understand there are collected from your, to get different gravel companies, which I understand goes to the province. Does the municipality in turn have to apply to the province to get that back?
no,
It's the pit owner.
it comes from the pit owner,
The
right?
pit owner is the one who does the rehabilitation, not the municipality. So we don't get the money for that, it goes through the province and the pit owner.
Okay. Can you tell me how many pits in this province? Does the municipality have the rehabilitation?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have an answer for that.
I'm not aware of any, but I don't know either. No, just correct. Thank you.
Okay.
My understanding is I made a call here about 5 years ago to the mines branch to get rehabilitated. The pit owner must apply and say, I'm done basically excavating gravel.
So you can basically walk away from it and forget about it.
That, I mean, we don't have any, very little jurisdiction on that. The pit owner has to declare he's done mining is what the explanation I got, because there's a couple out there, I agree with everybody. They are an eyesore, but there's not much we can do until that pit owner does the declaration. We can't, as a municipal.
Or they deem
So
it
how
closed.
They're
long
deemed
is
closed.
quarry lease for? In here, it speaks of quarry lease and renewing your quarry leases, but it doesn't say how many years they last for.
I can't
That's
speak to
provincial.
that either. That's provincial, but I do know that if you get a license through the quarry branch, that is an annual license that you have to apply for. But I don't know about this lease, if it's different than the license.
I just strongly urge everyone to read these regulations. To try to eye opener as to what the landscape looks like down there and what this regulation looks like it should.
If there's nothing else, close public hearing.
Motion to close?
I'll make a motion. to close the public hearing.
Seconder. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for a question, all in favor.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Next item then on the agenda is item 4.2, council decisions from public hearings. First item 4.2.1, council decision on the subdivision application 4116-21-8311.
We're gonna bring the audience in, a few of them,
Oh, did
right?
somebody note
I'll
something?
do it. Check.
Put the rest from-
No.
Hey, which one is this
That's for the Poohatch subdivision. Because there's so many, if you read it, like,
Yeah.
see which one it is before the motion.
Sure thing, yes. So this one is conditional use or subdivision application 4116-21-8331. And this is the application for subdivision. And it is for Poohatch, White, and Campbell.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion here. Can I get past the clerk from the CEO? Yeah, just well, before I make a motion. Because there was concerns brought up for this particular one. What happens if we table until, can we table this until we
do a study?
Get some information on that first one? We're not rejecting it or approving it. It's just basically tabling it until we address some of the concerns for satisfaction. What was the concerns in the food action?
Poohatch, I don't believe it has any-
Okay, was there no
There was no
groundwater?
one.
There was no, we asked, that was the kettle, like kettle was representing.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
okay.
didn't have any. You had asked about water.
Water, yeah, yeah.
There was no comments for that.
Okay, how about if I make a resolution, a motion here to basically get it on the table, this particular application, right? Okay, here's what I'm gonna, be it resolved that the proposal to subdivide application number 4116-21-8311 being part of Southeast 321019 WPM being a proposal to subdivide to be hereby tabled until a groundwater study gets conducted by the applicant that is satisfactory to the RM of Cornwallis. I'll put it on the table and I'll explain my reason why.
Second motion.
Yeah, second.
I second.
Okay, it's on the table. The reason I'm doing that.
Anybody wish to speak to that?
Oh, well, I will. I'm the mover. So the reason I'm gonna support tabling it until we request a groundwater study by the applicant. I think we did that with the Cougar Roots development.
Yes.
And it's concerning. I mean, you're starting to the right, not that far from the Cougar Roots property. It's up high. I just want to make sure I'd rather err on the side of caution, get a groundwater study done in the area by a professional well driller to give us the satisfaction that we're not going to impact any other wells in that area.
We're asking.
The applicant, yeah, the applicant to do a groundwater study.
Not the owner. Yes, I agree with that.
So that's my motion. We're not rejecting it or approving it. We're just asking them to table it until we get a satisfactory groundwater study.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion?
I just agree with
I agree.
Sam and Kurt on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So I will call for the question. All in favor of that motion? No opposed? We'll do the next one.
The next item on the agenda then is
4116-218318.
4116-21-8318. Proposal to subdivide, and this is, the applicant is MB1 Developments Limited.
I'll make a motion here. Be it resolved that the proposal to subdivide application number 4116-2183 being part northeast corner of 301018 WPM being a proposal to subdivide be hereby tabled until the applicant provides detailed plans to address all the concerns that were brought up at the public hearing, November the date, and there was, and we'll deal with that. The traffic, the groundwater, the Reg brought up a real good point here is the staging, I mean, how are the houses going to be situated? I think we need more stuff, a more in-depth study. Water, the road is the biggest concern I have, and I want to see it from their consultant or engineer. How does he want to address Gray Road, the concern? Not rejecting it or approving it. Again, I think there's more work to be done by the applicant. After I see 25, 30 people concerned, I think the people have spoken. It's time to, and I heard it loud and clear. Nobody's really wants to reject it. I think they just want us to do due diligence. Go get some information.
You want in-depth studies?
Engineering study of the concerns that were brought up. You've got them all written down at the public hearing.
Okay, be it resolved that proposal to subdivide application number 4116-21-8318 being part northeast 301019 WPM being a proposal to subdivide, be hereby tabled until the applicant provide detailed engineering study to address all concerns brought forward during the public hearing.
We have a second now?
We don't have a seconder yet. Nope.
Well, I find it just generally interesting that all the questions come up after, if you didn't say anything during the question time. You got the study, if he actually looks at it, with all due respect, submitted the water study. And the plans are professionally engineered, and all drainage plans are all designed and laid out to accommodate and identify the concerns of all the people here. So it would be helpful if I was from here, would I wait another month? When do I get to address them? Just to pay consultants more? I've already provided a lot. The water study for the water table has all been provided.
Mr. Chairman, the water study was for your
I know
subdivision.
we're not gonna get into the debate,
No.
but you didn't have any questions. I've been in this council office 7 times in the last 6 months, asking for feedback, so forth and so on. So I think for you to ask again for more review, because some of the neighbors have concerns, water, I think they're looking for you to address the water. I provided it. There's professionals in the room. The reports state, and the planner has approved the road plan. So more and more studies are, in my opinion, unreasonable. We moved the road, that's why we're applying to have the road from where the municipality thought it would lessen the traffic, so we've done that. And the professional engineers have reviewed that. And it follows the guidelines of the secondary plan, which is an advancement over just the municipal guidelines. It's a secondary plan for a reason. You paid a lot of money to have that plan done. And our plan follows that. So
Can I clarify? Your water study was done on that, but it didn't really specify what it will do to the.
absolutely, 100%, it addresses the aquifer in the whole area. We've got the biggest aquifer in Manitoba where we live right there. And it states that. It states our property will not in any way generally affect any neighboring properties. The water doesn't flow like that. And we also did 5 test holes, the quality of water and the consistency of the water. We spent about $10,000 reviewing this because my concerns are of that. I can't sell a house that doesn't have water, right? Nobody wants that. So if you look at the studies, we've already provided you that. We've already, so I think you need a day or a week to review what I've given you because it answers the questions and it answers the people's questions that were in the room tonight. As far as access, the only concerns we heard tonight were accesses onto Gray Road, onto Grand Valley. That is an issue today and isn't, there's some things that can be done, but it's not a dramatic and it's never been. If you look at it, there has to be some responsibility for the province in reviewing their provincial roads and the numbers of traffic of people. We're not putting a gravel pit there and running semis down for them, right? We're talking lowest volume of traffic in residential area. And we're talking about from one end to the other, about half a mile of driving. We're not talking about putting a 60-person apartment block on the corner of Gray Road and Grand Valley. Like, the traffic is relative and that can be discussed, but what good is the provincial planner and the review from highways in their support for the subdivision if I sit here and then have you ask, we need more studies? They've already reviewed it.
Tyler, we could get into this all night.
Yeah, I understand.
We could get into this all night. We've got a lot to cover tonight.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And
Mr. Chairperson, all I'm saying, we've got a lot of good feedback and concerns that, like I say, I'm not rejecting and I'm not approving. I think we really have to listen what the people are saying here. And I don't really think I heard out there a rejection. I think what I heard or interpreted, the way I read it or heard the people say, is just do a little bit more research and look into it a little bit deeper. Like I say, the groundwater I'm talking about.
I'm going to cut you guys off
Yeah,
there.
okay, that's all,
I'm
there's my
gonna-
motion. Like I say, I'm not rejecting or approving it, I'm just saying, I think we just need a little bit more homework that.
I'm gonna call for the question. All in favor? All opposed?
Motion for council decision on zoning bylaw amendment, application number ZA-02-21-C, part northwest of 22-1017 WPM, applicant Bellevue.
Need a mover and a seconder.
Mr. Chairman, did we do 4.2?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got bylaws under it. I'm trying to get all these names.
Yeah, did we?
We're doing the, we can do the bylaw if you want, or we can go down to it later. It's under a different section.
Okay.
I don't want to confuse you, so we'll go to the next one.
Because of. when I go
So
with
the
this,
next one is a
4.22.
variation application.
Okay.
VO-11-21-C,
that threw me off, sorry.
Northwest 15-10-17 Onuk.
So that's 4.2.3. Is that the one we're on? Yeah, okay, that's the one I was on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll need a mover. And a seconder.
I move that the bylaw be approved.
No,
Not the
we're
bylaw,
doing, yes,
that the-
variation.
That the variation be approved as written and CO, please. With the,
Read the
yeah,
resolution.
with the resolution.
Okay.
Sorry to not.
Whereas Bucci and Helen Anouk have applied to vary the application of the municipality zoning bylaw number 1664-03-2016 as amended with respect to lot 6 plan 56302 BLTO in the northwest quarter of 15-10-17 WPM as follows. To vary the minimum side width from 91.44 meters, 300 feet, to 8.99 meters, 29.5 feet in the RR5 residential rural zone. And whereas the council held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application, and whereas council is satisfied that varying the application of the specific provisions of the zoning bylaw with regard to the affected property in the manner specified in the order, 1, will be compatible with the general nature of the surrounding area. 2, will not be detrimental to the health or general welfare of the people living or working in the surrounding area, or negatively affect other properties or potential development in the surrounding area. 3, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. 4, is generally consistent with the applicable provisions of the development plan bylaw, the zoning bylaw, the secondary plan bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that in consideration of the foregoing and of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, council hereby approves the application as submitted and authorizes that variation order number VO-11-21-C be issued.
Seconder. We'll second that. Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Oops, straightforward.
I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Next item on the agenda, council decision, variation order, application number VO-09-21-C, applicants Palma and Wakefield.
That motion. I second the motion as written.
Whereas Jerry Palma and Brenda Wakefield have applied to vary the application of the municipality zoning bylaw number 1664-03-2016 as amended with respect to Unit 6, condominium plan 43473 in the northwest quarter, 6/10/18 WPM as follows. To vary the minimum front yard from 12.19 meters, 40 feet, to 10.67 meters, 35 feet on the west side property line in the AG agricultural general zone. To vary the minimum side yard from 4.57 meters, 15 feet, to 0.61 meters, 2 feet on the north side property line within the agricultural general zone. And whereas council held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application. And whereas the council is satisfied that varying the application of the specific provisions of the affected property in the manner specified in the order will, 1, be compatible with the general nature of the surrounding area, 2, will not be detrimental to the health or general welfare of people living or working in the surrounding area, or negatively affect other properties or potential development in the surrounding area. 3, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. 4, is generally consistent with the applicable provisions of the development plan bylaw, the zoning bylaw, and any secondary plan bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that in consideration of the foregoing and any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, council hereby approves the application as submitted and authorize that variation order number VO-09-21-C be issued.
I'll second that.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question, all in favor. It's quarter to. Ask for extension. I would.
Motion to extend the meeting past 10 o'clock.
Second. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor.
So as a reminder, that will take us till 10:30. Council decision is conditional use. Conditional use application number CU-11-21-C. Tim Longstaff, GeoVera Manitoba Survey, being limited applicant. This is for the northeast quarter of 18-10-17.
Need a mover and a seconder.
I'll make a motion to put it on the floor and explain what's happening here. Whereas Tim Longstaff from GeoVera Manitoba Surveying Limited, with the consent of the owner, Joshua Chevelle, has applied for a conditional use order to permit an establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel of northeast 18-10-17 WPM within the Ag 80 agricultural general zone. And whereas council has held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application. And now therefore, in consideration of the representation made at the hearing and at the application itself, the council hereby approves the application as submitted and authorized that conditional use order number CU-11-21-C be issued.
Seconder for that motion.
But the reason I'm supporting that, they're taking a piece of property there, no mention. I'm looking at the application here, and I'm listening to the people there too, which we have to. They're strictly subdividing a parcel of land out of that 80. There's no mention in the application about the gravel pit.
Anything else?
About anything else. Who's to say they want to build another house to the south? Whether they told us the truth or not, I'm looking at the application. If they want to build a quarry, that
Then we deal
opens
with
up
that.
and we will deal that in a separate
That's
matter.
right.
But what they're doing here, all the people in that area have that same opportunity in the Ag 80. If they want to subdivide and put another house on there, get a family member in there. So that's why I'm supporting it. It's a subdivision. You know, so it's strictly another parcel of land for us.
Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? Everybody's good. I'll call for the question, all in favor.
Next item on the agenda is council decision for variation order 10-21-C, GeoVera Manitoba Surveying Limited. And again, this is a at the northeast 18-10-17.
What is that word? I just lost my.
Sorry, this is the variation
Yeah.
order to increase the maximum site area from 10 acres to 13.92 acres.
Okay. For that same property.
For the same
Subject
property.
property. I'll make a motion and get it on the floor if you want me to read it.
Yeah, I can read that. Whereas Tim Longstaff, GeoVera Manitoba Surveying Limited, with the consent of the owner, Joshua Chevelle, has applied to vary the application of the municipality zoning bylaw number 166403, 2016, as amended with respect to the northeast 18-10-17 WPM as follows. To vary increase of the maximum site area from 10 acres to 13.92 acres in the Ag 80 agricultural general zone. And whereas council held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application, whereas council is satisfied that varying the application of specific provisions of the zoning bylaw with regard to the affected property in the manner specified in the order, 1, will be compatible with the general nature of the surrounding area. 2, will not be detrimental to the health and general welfare of the people living or working in the surrounding area, or negatively affect other properties or potential development in the surrounding area. 3, is the minimum modification of the zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property. And 4, is generally consistent with the applicable provisions of the development plan bylaw, the zoning bylaw, and any secondary plan bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that in consideration of the foregoing and of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, council hereby approves the application as submitted and authorize that variation order number VO-10-21-C be issued.
I'll second that.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
No, just straightforward.
Call for the question, all in favor?
Next item on the agenda then is council decision for conditional use. Application CU-10-21-C, applicant Russell Ready Mix for the establishment of an aggregate quarry. Okay.
I'll make that motion with a operation as I'll give Bev the wording. Whereas Russell Ready Mix Concrete, with the consent of the owner, Dean and Debbie Walkowski, has applied for a conditional use order to permit the establishment of an aggregate quarry at Northwest 17-10-17 WPM within the Ag 80 agricultural general zone. And whereas council has held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application. And now therefore, in consideration of any representation made at the hearing and the application itself, the council hereby rejects the application as submitted because of the numerous concerns brought forth at the public hearing.
Second motion.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Yes, I will see on the mover. I've been on council for 20 years. That's probably somewhat a hard decision, somewhat a easy decision. People elected us to make decisions on their behalf. And I think gives them an opportunity at public hearing. We heard a lot of concerns and I am really concerned as those gravel pits. And I've said it for a number of years. The province, this municipality, businesses in Brandon, we need gravel, but I think it's time to look at this a little bit different. We've got residents there are gonna be, those homes are gonna be there forever.
We need to.
As those pits are coming closer, I think it's time to reestablish what's the long-term plan out there. I've been a proponent of weighing gravel trucks, GPS on our gravel applications. I think we need to we heard it loud and clear tonight, at least I did. We really have to look at these gravel pits. Applications very diligently. I learned a lot here in the last week. I had a lot of homework on the weekend and I had reflected, what would I do if I be that area? I'd be probably just as upset as some of those residents there, or worse, yeah, or worse, yeah. So I think that the public has spoke tonight, and I feel bad to the business owner here. I'm working for a big oil company, but we have to start just looking at this a little bit different. Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, also on the same line, then Council for we should review maybe the bylaw of Springfield, maybe see buffer zone, like not closer to, I don't know, 1,000 meters or whatever to property or whatever, something like that, like, and review whatever we're doing.
We've got that on the, we don't have it on the table, but we've talked about, we need to look at the bylaws. You want to read the version back, please?
Whereas Russell Ready Mix Concrete, with the consent of the owner Dean and Debbie Walkowski, has applied for a conditional use order to permit the establishment of an aggregate quarry at Northwest 171017 WPM within the Ag 80 Agricultural General Zone. And whereas council has held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application. And now therefore in consideration of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, council hereby rejects the application as submitted because of the numerous concerns brought forward during the public hearing.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
I would just like to add in there that, you know, it's been brought forward that things are getting too close to the people that are living. I fought earlier on in the summertime, another situation for what we're receiving today. So what's coming out of this, I wish it would have happened then too. Maybe we're coming to our senses, but definitely we have to review everything, get away from the people. Get it out into open areas where it's not bothersome. I'm totally in favor of the rejection.
Anybody else wish to speak to the motion?
That's something we can review tonight. I mean, the gravel quarry, the laws and all that, yeah, we probably don't have much say in the matter, but I think maybe the municipality and Mr. Lockerbie had a good point. Maybe it will take administration to put a call out. Can somebody go and inspect these pits? We as councillors, we shouldn't be the inspectors out there. That's not what we got, at least I got elected for. I don't want to be the one. I think that's why they have people administrating those. If the concern should come to us, to administration, and a provincial inspector, because we don't have the qualifications, and I won't expect Darwin to have it, to get the province involved out there. Can we do a better job? And it is an eyesore. I took a tour out there in the weekend. It's time for us to
tighten up standards.
Exactly. Yeah, and hold people accountable. I don't mind big business making money, but I think at the end of the day, they have to leave their sites in a favorable condition, in my opinion.
I'll call for the question. All in favor? I just want to thank you folks for your input.
I'd like to, I need what's not allowed. If you taught me something, I'm never gonna apply to subdivide our land. Too much trouble. We're talking 40 acres and I love it.
Oh, thank you very much, council.
Just from a neighbor Wilson, the outcome. I see a copy tomorrow morning.
Mrs. Shadlock, and please don't use the words complaining. You're bringing concerns for.
Well,
Yeah, I've told you many times, it's not a complaint.
when you see trucks going through
Well,
the stop sign.
No, it's a
and
concern.
John helped out a
Yeah.
lot this summer when we got her to put a sign up on the stop sign.
Yeah.
No heavy trucks.
Yeah.
Then the highway said,
We'll get Don on the phone, call up the gas truck. I didn't know about that.
Well,
See, that's the other half that we have to put up with the provincial government, right? Is we got to deal with it too.
I told Donna when Darcy phoned Donna today that the stop sign got knocked down. on White Road.
Oh.
That night, there was a fire south of us. And guess who ran the stop sign? Because he didn't know there was a stop sign there. Firefighter. And if the mailboxes hadn't been there, he would have been in the ditch and he would have been killed.
Wow.
So that's an indication that something's got to done with these trucks. Somebody's gonna get killed, and I'm sure.
This
I
is,
don't want anybody to get killed.
this is our municipality. We need to look at.
That's right. And I appreciate everything that you guys have done. Really, really.
We appreciate hearing from our residents because that guides us in, I'm hoping, a better way.
Yeah, because Veterans Way is such a busy highway now. With the child traffic and the new subdivisions down there, it's unbelievable.
Just hang on there with us. Is our thing open on Thursday for urban development? You need to come to that.
No, I don't.
No, it's an open house. It's an open house and voice your opinion about the quarters.
Is it online?
If we can get a Zoom link out to you, but we have it open from 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I'm old school, I'm sorry, I don't have a computer, I don't have an iPad.
You're always welcome.
You can come, it's from 1 to 3 in the afternoon right here.
Okay, but no, I do appreciate all your help
Okay.
with anything that we have. So, thank you.
Okay,
Where are we?
we're actually at.
Other
item-
planning.
We're at other planning, and I would just ask that item 4.3.1 just be removed from the agenda at this point. It pertains to an application for subdivision that was tabled this evening, so we cannot move forward on that at this point.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
Do we need a motion for that?
no, just no action. The reports of committees. Seeing none. There are no reception of petitions. Item 7, communications.
I'll make that motion. We resolved that following communications were received and filed. And it's rolling over for school division 2022-2023 budget process and pay notice of cancellation of service.
Seconder for that motion? Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
No.
Call for the question, all in favor?
Item 8.1, approval of accounts.
Be it resolved that the following payroll and general accounts be approved for payment as follows. Total of $384,977.21. And be it further resolved that the following utility accounts be approved for payment as follows. Total of $559.78. And be it further resolved that council indemnity accounts in the sum net total amount of $5,315.01 be approved for payment.
Seconder for that motion?
I'll second that.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor? Tell me.
Under item 8.2, we have item 8.2.1, holiday season recognition of staff.
I'll make a motion. Be it resolved that a gift certificate in the amount of $100 be purchased for each member of the municipality's office, police, and public works department, and a gift certificate in the amount of $50 for each of the municipality's white or WTS, WTP, and EMO department staff currently on payroll.
Sorry.
Seconder for that?
Second.
Anybody wish to speak to that
Yeah,
motion?
we do it annually, just put it through the motion and put it on record.
Call for the question, all in favor?
Okay.
Bobby. Grants. 8.2.2.
8.2.2 is your 2021 grants.
Need a mover for that?
With that,
Seconder for that? Oh, move.
Moved by
Moved by Councillor Eager.
Seeger.
I can't see him, but it's okay. It's okay. Seconder is Kurt. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Item 8.3, financial statements for the 9 months ended September 30th of 2021.
We'll need a mover for that motion.
Of that.
Seconder for that motion,
Bob?
Bobby. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? All good. Call for the question, all in favor?
Item number 9, under the order of bylaws, 9.1 is bylaw 1702/06/2021 zoning bylaw amendment. This would be second reading.
I'll make the motion be resolved. We do hereby give second reading to the bylaw 1702/06/2021, being a bylaw to amend the Cornwallis zoning bylaw number 1664/03/2021.
The seconder for that motion? Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Moving right along, call for the question, all in favor?
Bylaw number, item number 9.2 is bylaw 1702/06/2021 zoning bylaw amendment, third and final reading. We did have 3 objections to the zoning bylaw amendment, but this would not be considered a sufficient amount for council to not proceed if they so wish to proceed with third reading at this time.
We'll need a mover then.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, be it resolved, we do hereby give third and final reading to bylaw number 1702/06/2021, being a bylaw to amend Cornwallis zoning bylaw number 1664/03/2021.
My second motion. There was the bylaw regarding the conversion from 5 into 2 acre.
Yes, for Mr. Belgiu.
And I think those points are brought forward like we opening the door. I personally think there might be some property out there based that people would like to subdivide, but in the context of the whole subdivision as such, being 5 acres, I cannot approve this.
So the subdivision was approved already. This is just rezoning
Or, yeah, the rezoning, yeah.
as a condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I somewhat struggled with that one too, because I mean, again, that whole cottonwood acres there.
Like where the property sits is not a bad spot for having it subdivided, like right on Dragon's Place, I think, yeah. But on the other side, when you look at it, like you said, residents, whatever, somebody else comes forward, how that, that's the issue.
You're saying we should deal with each one separately,
Yeah,
not to make it into.
well, it's not like this is a one item thing. Well, if you change your bylaw, then,
Then it covers them all.
then it covers all.
No, it does not.
Oh,
This particular bylaw change from 5 acres to 2 acres only pertains to that one parcel of land.
Okay.
Yes,
oh.
yes.
And Mr. Shepherd, I was thinking along the same lines, Kurt, but where it's situated, it's way out there, so. And if there's other ones that want to come along, I don't think I could support it, but that one is.
It's like, it's not in the middle
Yeah.
of 4 other 5 acre lots. It's a single item sitting on the site.
Yeah. And I looked at it, not struggled, but read it. I think when people move to Cottonwoods, they like their 5 acres, and I think maybe you should keep it there and go to other areas where there's, like, the prime example is the Curtis Road. The Curtis, everybody was on the same page, so because it was a joint subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a little bit different, and Councilor Weiselberg nailed it on the head. It's just the way it's situated, made that one a little bit different. Yeah. I'm concerned of the 2 acres, and if the well gets drilled And the 5 acre horses come over and that property owner might start complaining, but hopefully they realize it when they buy that 2 acres. Yeah, but if it's just for that particular parcel, I will support it, just for that particular parcel, land, but not for any others.
Any other comments?
May I speak?
No, I'm sorry, the public hearing is completed now.
I will call for the question. All in favor?
Item number 9.3, bylaw 1703/07/2021, mitigation and preparedness program reserve fund. This is first reading.
Mover and a seconder.
I move, be it resolved that we hereby give first reading to bylaw number 1703/07/2021, being a bylaw to establish a reserve fund known as the Mitigation and Preparedness Program Reserve Fund.
Seconder for that. Anybody wish to speak to that? Call for the question. All in favor?
Next item on the agenda, 9.4, bylaw 1703/07/2021, mitigation and preparedness program reserve fund, second reading.
Be it resolved that we hereby give second reading to the bylaw number 1703/07/21, being a bylaw to establish a reserve fund known as the Mitigation and Preparedness Program Reserve Fund.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
No items under unfinished business. Item 11, general business, item 11.1, request for approval. This is a drain clean out north of 11020 Precision Land Solutions, and the applicant is Jarvie.
I'll make that motion. Now be it resolved that the RM of Cornwallis has no objection to the drain cleanout project proposed by Precision Land Solutions for UN Jarvie at North 11020. Orange Lakeland.
Seconder for that. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Item 11.2, reinstatement of PFRA.
Mover.
I make that motion as it's written.
Second it.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? We want to read it.
You brought the motion forward from the meeting. This is the one you asked me to place on the agenda from your Bozeman meeting.
Interesting.
Yes, it's a long one.
Take to,
10 minutes.
to take to the AMA, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody wish to speak to this motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Item 11.3, request for tax account penalty cancellation. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm reading it.
Just so that everybody knows.
Whereas Karen Beaver has stated that her payment for tax accounts was sent from the Winnipeg Post Office on September 27th, 2021. Whereas the tax due date for Cornwallis was September 30th, 2021. And whereas the municipality did not receive the payment until October 21st of 2021. And whereas penalties have been added to the tax account. And whereas Karen Beaver has requested that the late penalties imposed on property tax accounts be canceled. Now therefore be it resolved that we do hereby authorize administration to cancel the late penalties in the total amount of $44.65 on the following. Roll 46500, $14.51. Roll 47,000, $10.39. Roll 47,200, $5.35. Roll 53,000, $7.76. And roll 53400, $6.64.
We need a seconder for that motion?
Second. You gotta move.
Oh, I will move it. That's what Donna read.
Yeah, no. You looking for comments?
If you want.
Yeah, I will not support that. I mean, there's rules. You know, that I think administration did their due diligence. At the end of the day, I'm just sitting here thinking, how about if every taxpayer would do that? Like, how do you say that?
Well,
Come in late? Well, I mean, then you'd have to read over 4,000, basically.
There's other
resolutions.
options.
To
There's
me,
other options too.
yeah, exactly. There's interactive. I'm late for my water bill. I deserve to get penalized, you know, so it's just a matter of principle. There's rules out there. To abide by.
We're involved in them as well.
Exactly.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor? I see none. I'll call for the question. Opposed?
Item 11.4 is a request for an extension MI agreement.
Mover. And a seconder.
I'll make the motion just to get it on the floor because it was a late addition.
Yeah.
So we'll get the CEO to explain it. Whereas the Real Municipality of Cornwallis entered into an agreement with Manitoba Infrastructure for service road in the intersection improvements adjacent to N-half 31/10/19 WPM dated November 22, 2019. And whereas the completion date is December 2nd, 2021. Now therefore be resolved that we hereby request an extension of the agreement to September 30, 2022.
We'll need a seconder for that.
Yeah, no, I see there's probably audio, I guess maybe there's nobody here, but that was a late addition. So what
Yeah.
exactly is?
Yeah, so
No.
this is pertaining to the agreement that the municipality signed with Manitoba Infrastructure for the service road and on highway improvements for the Keller developments for the industrial. And so he has let me know that he cannot get everything completed by the December 2nd deadline. And so
Because of paving.
well, he hasn't started the on highway either. So he has requested that he be extended until September the 30th. So we must send a formal request.
22.
Of 22.
That was
We must
September.
send a formal request over to Manitoba Infrastructure asking for an extension.
And that was September 1.
September 30th, we've got written here.
I put, he had said in his email, September of 2022.
Yeah.
So I put September 30th.
Oh, mine says September 1. Like I say, this was a late edition and we didn't have time to read it. In all fairness.
Anybody else wish to speak to that?
No.
I will call for the question. All in favor?
Next item then is 11.5, extension of the completion date 6864598 Manitoba Limited.
Need a mover and a seconder. Seconder? Kurt? Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
So that's the same.
So this is in the same
Yes.
realm, it's just that Cornwallis, through their development agreement, has issued commencement certificate, and commencement certificate says 1 year, which would be December the 2nd of 2021. So I'm requesting that you give permission to extend that as well.
I mean, when I read that, when I see these numbered companies, you wonder, okay, I don't have a file here, but it was addressed to Mr. Keller, so I immediately thought, well,
Yes.
it's gotta be that
Yes,
out there.
that's,
so-
it's
No,
for
that's
the-
fine.
the same subdivision.
Yeah.
yes.
I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Item 12, inquiries.
Oh, I don't have any.
You know, I just.
We don't have much time either.
Yeah,
That's
okay, just.
We gotta be mindful.
Yeah, did, somebody told you about a tarp for the sheet of roof on it? Bill or somebody out there?
no,
Okay. Like, they normally get it from Total Farm Supply, so I'm just wondering if it's gonna be, I'm staying away from it
I
because
haven't heard of
the
it.
people can do it out
No, I
there.
haven't heard of
A
it.
tarp or a line?
Oh, I like it.
They use a
Well, it's a
tarp.
green tarp. Well, it's a
Yeah.
green tarp and they use it for all the expansive community, so.
Yeah, no, I
Bill
haven't heard
and
that.
what's his face out there are taking care of it.
Okay.
Hello.
Actually, he's two, yeah, well, some of the young lads out there.
Okay, no, I haven't heard anything yet.
What's his first name?
Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
He likes his hunting. Nice guy.
But I'll expect a call. then.
Yeah, I think Bill ordered it from Total Farm Supplies, is there, John,
He'll be
he gives it
in,
a finite cost.
yeah, and he'll be in tomorrow, I'm sure. He'll-
Any other inquiries? No? You all done, second?
Yep, so those will go to the end,
Okay. Notice of motion.
Sorry, we have 3 going to
huh?
the.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Who's going to the
Going to
end?
the-
No, I'm not.
Notice of motion.
Item 4, oh, there is no notice of motion.
Okay.
Item 14, adjourned.
I'll second.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor?